The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
Thank you so much for downloading this episode of So What Do You Really Do, the podcast where I, your host, Dennis Mallor, speak with artists and entertainers, and this is a special bonus episode this week. Jackson Blue last week, 2 days ago, was the official close to Radio Month for the podcast, and this is a bonus episode. This is the unofficial ending of Radio Month, because there's no better way, I think, in my head, to finish radio than with a podcast about podcasts. This is actually a swapcast with my buddy Stephen Richard K from the sketch group Mister Bismuth. He came over. It was the day that I just flew back from Charm City Comedy Festival from Baltimore, where I was there doing comedy, doing the Charm City Comedy Festival, having a good time. I flew in, and we were going to meet up at my place and do a swapcast. He does his podcast, I do my podcast, and then we both released them. He actually released his earlier today. Mine's coming out right now in the evening, because, I just wanted to make sure his was out before mine, because this is a shorter version. There's just the small middle part of his, and then there's mine, which is going to be the big long thing that I usually do. So you're going to get both podcasts here. If you want to check out his podcast, search for a co-host. Go to searchforacohostpod.com. and download that episode, and then you can come back and listen to this episode and see what the difference is between what he edited and what I didn't edit, which was everything. Didn't edit a single thing. I might even actually have parts that was like, I'll edit this out later, and I'm not going to, just because I wanted that drastic difference between what he does and what I do. He does a very short, very to the point, character kind of questions, like weird questions. Here's a very descriptive podcast. Mine's a little more free form chat conversation. The talking about day jobs is just a catalyst for us to have conversation and for you, the audience, to get to know who it is that I'm talking to. So that's how I do my podcast. That's how I like my interview style to be. He has a completely different style. So it's nice that we had that difference. And we're also both trying to take hold of the conversation throughout the entire time. Like, the entire time we're both asking each other questions. We're kind of interviewing each other back and forth. So that was really fun. Little background on Stephen. He, like I said, is in the sketch group Mister Bismuth, who I think is an amazing sketch group. That's why I wanted him on the podcast, and because I wanted to know what he did, but he won't tell us on the podcast. That's the little caveat to this thing. He talks a little bit about his job, but he can't. He's too... And we'll get into it. We talk about where he keeps his business life, his work life, and his home life, and his comedy life completely separate, which is weird to me. So it was very fascinating to listen to somebody who is on that side of the spectrum where it's like, oh, none of the two shall ever meet. Whereas me, everything I do is I'm Dead or Dennis on everything. Granted, all right, let's talk about this for a second, because I just had an argument with another comedian about this. I don't force people to call me Dead or Dennis. I never introduce myself as Dead or Dennis. I always introduce myself to people as Dennis. I use Dead or Dennis Mallor as a stage name when I'm on stage. I've never forced anyone to ever call me that. People do on stage, off stage. People have asked me, what do you prefer to be called? I was like, I don't care. Call me whatever you want. Doesn't matter. I'll answer to it. There are people who do call me Dead or Dennis, and that's fine. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not on stage, don't call me that. Or there's people who introduce me as just Dennis Mallor on stage. It's like, all right, that's fine. It's not a big deal. It's a branding thing. It's where, I'm talking about that business side of comedy that I hate so much to talk about and to acknowledge as a thing. But yes, that's exactly what I'm doing with it. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but we'll talk about it now. Where the name came from. One of the jobs I did in radio is I was a censor for a morning show. And there was a guy who was doing the job before me. I was the second person to take over the job. So when that guy gave the job to me, they didn't actually have a title for it. They kind of just called it the dump button position. So the Joe Bevilacqua, the program director at DC101 at the time, jokingly referred to the position as the Dead Air Dennis position instead of the dump position. So during this was all during the time of MySpace, and what happened was I needed to create a MySpace because I needed to create one for the band I was managing at the time, so I created one for myself as well, and the name that I picked was myspace.com/ as you can guess it, Dead Air Dennis, and it kind of followed me a little bit. I didn't really think much about it. Never used it on air at the time. And then Twitter came around, and I was Dennis1043 because I was working at Channel 1043, the radio station. And at some point, I kind of felt disconnected from the station, so I changed the Twitter handle to @DeadAirDennis. The station went defunct, and it flipped to Z1043. They brought in a morning show. My good buddy Jackson Blue, who you heard 2 days ago. I keep wanting to say last week. The podcast just came out 2 days ago. By the way, if you haven't listened to that podcast, do listen to it, please, if you want. It's a great conversation between two friends while they drink a bottle of rosé and curse a lot. It's funny to listen to Jackson curse. I mean, not for me. I'm sure any listeners who know Jackson Blue, they find it funny listening to him curse. So anyway, when we brought him to Z1043 as our morning show, he wanted me to do a bit on the show, and I was like, all right, well, he goes, what name do you go by on air? I was like, there's probably my regular name, just Dennis. And he goes, no, I like the Dead or Dennis. Like, you should use that. I was like, ugh, okay. And then when I started doing stand-up, decided to keep branding it. So there we are. That's the name that I went with. And I, if there's time to change it. Trust me, I can change it very easily. I could have people stop calling me that. There's people who wish they could stop calling me that, I'm sure. I don't know why people make a weird thing about it. They do, though. I don't know. I guess I do the same thing when I think about other people who have weird, dumb stage names, or people who put comedian in front of their name on Facebook. I don't know. Like we accept it in certain, like in urban comics we accept that. In black comics we accept that, but a white guy with a nickname, ugh, it's a hack apparently. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't actually tell you how good or bad I am at comedy, but people want to believe it does anyway. So back to this, Stephen Richard K. So it was great having him in. I hope you enjoy this Swapcast special episode, putting a unofficial end to Radio Month. My podcast, my Swapcast with sketch performer Stephen Richard K. What's up? Hey.
Hello. First of all, calm down, breathe. I heard about your problem. I'm one of your listeners. I'm Led Liker, so I was one of the few that commented.
One who left the very nice review on there. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now anyone who actually heard, if there's two listeners who have listened to every episode,
so anyone else
who heard the one where I complimented it, now is on the inside. It's like, oh well, I guess it doesn't really matter that somebody said something nice because it was another podcaster. It was his own friend.
It doesn't count.
Yes. It doesn't count. The only thing that would have made that count less is if it was my mom who wrote it, and I know my mother won't because she can't figure out the internet.
No, what's worse, I think I'm the only one who's ever rated my own, and I said, "You're great, Steve." Signed, Steve. So that's worse.
But if you do it like over the top, obvious that it's yourself, then I think that's
if it wasn't
cool
like a legitimate yeah. I tried to make it so it was obvious that it was me, if I recall.
Okay, yeah, because I think that's just funny. Like if I had that absurdity about my comedy, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
I'm not an absurdist in that way.
No,
no. Unfortunately, not. I'm probably too straight-laced to be a comedian.
Really?
Yeah. I like to be very exact.
So you're just trying to make sense of things and how the world is so screwed up. You're like, that's what you're trying to do? You're like...
Yes, I'm the sane man in the insane world in my head at all times. I'm the fish out of water, but the water is crazy and I'm the sane one.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
And
also, I'm not going to compliment you on your studio because I've heard that everyone does that. So your
I do like
sucks.
hearing it, but yeah.
It's a piece of shit. This place sucks.
I gotta order not new. I have to order soundproofing or acoustic foam. But that chunky, dirty old mattress that I used to sleep on, and is now a guest mattress. If anyone wants to stay over,
when the podcast room has to be a guest bedroom, yeah,
it doubles as a guest bedroom. Like when a booker at a local comedy club gets too drunk at a party, and then I have to stumbly bring her home. Yeah. Probably should not have said the gender because then that totally give away who I was talking about. You may not know because you don't do stand-up.
I don't do stand-up, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, all right, so I guess, are you going first with your show or am I going first with my show? Or are we just going to talk and then both release the same thing? How do you want to do the Swapcast thing? Because you know me. I'm mostly without a format. It's a lot of rambling on both sides.
So my podcast, the Search for a Cohost podcast, I do basically have a format.
Okay, let's go with
And I go
that.
for like 20 to 30 minutes. So we'll just say it's my podcast now.
Okay.
And then, because it's like, I'm not like myself. Like, I'm like, because I feel like I'm talking to you like a person. But like, when I'm hosting the Search for a Cohost podcast, I'm almost in host mode almost. I don't know. One of my favorite podcasts, and we'll get into talking about podcasts and how much we love them later. But I love Comedy Bang Bang, and that's one of my favorites. And I don't know if I try to do it like that, but I don't know. I'm sure that's a definite influence.
Oh,
But-
it's fine to have influences and be inspired to be similar to things.
Yeah.
It's there's a very fine line between being influenced and ripping off. But
Exactly,
I think
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being influenced.
Right. I mean, my theme song, it's made by Reggie Watts Sound Alike. No, I'm kidding. Anyways.
It's made by Wedgie Rots.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Search for a Co-Host podcast. My name is Stephen Richard K., and today my guest is Dead Air Dennis Maller.
Hello.
And so, the Search for a Co-Host podcast, this is my never-ending search for a co-host of the show. So basically, you get to brag about yourself, the fact that you're a fellow podcaster, and you've been in radio for a lot of years.
Too long, too many years. I just did one of the podcasts I recorded for my podcast. So what do you really do? I spoke with an old friend of mine in radio yesterday, and we were having a conversation about radio and dating ourselves back to when we started in radio as jobs, and dating ourselves back to the people we used to listen to, because her and I grew up listening to the same radio stations for the most part. And then we were talking about like for her, most of her and my idols are people she works with or worked with, because she just lost her job. Mm-hmm. So they hate it, and I've met them and I know them, and I'm friendly with them, but not friends like she is. It's one of those, if we run into each other, like, oh yeah, you, Dennis, okay. Whereas they're like calling each other to go for coffee. That's the level of friendship between the difference. But she would mention, that she listened to so-and-so when she was in high school. We would listen to the same people when we were in high school, and they hate hearing that because they're now our partner or our coworkers.
Exactly, yeah. And they don't want to seem older.
Yeah, they don't want to seem older than they are, and it's really not that difference in age.
Yeah,
because they're just 4, 5, 6 years older than Joe and I.
Right.
And so Joe and I are in our mid-30s, and they're in their early 40s. So when you're in high school, let's say 15, 16 years old, 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
Totally appropriate to start, being a well-known radio jock, if that is what the age range is. I think it's closer to 10 years, but anyway.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, so radio. Okay, I don't know. Did you want to start with a question?
No, yeah. So, like, it's a bullshit way to get you to start talking and brag about yourself.
Yeah,
so
I do a good job of filling. I do a
a
good job of filling the void. Like, if you just introduce me and I'll keep talking.
Yeah, and I was like, how could I? And like, so that's one of the things I clutch to. I'm like, I always do. First of all, it's because of the bandwidth I pay for. If I do 2 20-minute or 30-minute shows a month, and that's usually what I do. I release the podcast every other Tuesday. And then I'm okay with my $7 Libsyn plan. But if I do it any longer, then I got to pay a little bit extra. Yeah. And so, but the other part of it is like the fear of, oh no, like sometimes I talk to like strangers and I'm just like, come talk to me. And like, if it's only like 20, 30 minutes, fine, it's easy. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what are we going to talk about for like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that, depending on however long you talk to. But it's like, you are a very easy guy to talk to, and I'd like to think that I am too. I'd like to hope, especially with my podcasting, but I don't know. It just happens, right?
Yeah, well, this is the weird thing, this is what held me back from doing podcasts, is this kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm a decent interviewer and a good chatter, and I know I can talk, so like if somebody has me on a guest, just intro me and I'll talk, I'll fill the void.
Yeah.
But to the point where I almost take over the show. I did a podcast back in Baltimore where I essentially just took over the show.
Yeah.
And interviewed the guests who were on, like we did a 5-hour podcast, 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But they're thinking, I don't know what's going to be edited down to, but they did one and I was in the background, and then we did mine and they were still sitting in. And I essentially just started interviewing the 2 of them and just bringing up different things and just completely bowled over the host of it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do. So that's... Getting to the point that's always held me back for so many years of doing a podcast was, one, didn't want to be just another comedian with a podcast.
Yeah.
But also, I don't take this the wrong way, because it doesn't mean you specifically or anyone who I've had on my podcast specifically. I didn't want to just interview nobodies who are not used to being interviewed. And it's not because they're not, because I only want to interview famous people. No, it's because I only want to
you want to be interesting.
People. Well, people who are interesting, but also people who know how to be interviewed.
Right.
My friend Jo, who is a radio professional, first time she's ever done a podcast or been a guest on anything. So I have faith that she she did a great job talking and filling the void
Right.
after the first few minutes because she gave me the standard like unplugging things talk, like the short answer, the soundbite answers.
Right.
She started doing that
She's used to the
instinctively.
the 30-second sound bites where it's like, with the all right, now it's time to play for the new thing from Nelly and the Saint Lunatics. Is that still irrelevant? I don't know.
But so yeah, she started doing soundbite, and then we got into real natural conversation.
Yeah.
So that's one reason I go long. But also the other thing was, I originally started doing an internet local music show in college, and E-Radio, WMCR at Rockville, or Montgomery College in Rockville, Maryland. And one of the things that I found...
Listen, I can make up call signs if you want to.
Trust me, our bandwidth, our server, held 100 listeners. It doesn't matter if I made it up or not.
Right.
It is real, and still nobody will care. But I would interview bands that would come on again. I'm the first person to ever interview them because they're just fucking garage band, shitty punk bands coming on, and it'd be one of these things like I would do the show. I would have them come in 5 minutes before the show starts, bring them to the studio, hang out, get them acclimated to the room, do about 30 minutes, 40 minutes of the show, and then turn over to them, do an interview, performance.
Yeah.
Hour and 1 hour, 60 minutes, done, boom, out. So everything, as soon as they come in, they're all laughing and joking and having a great time, and I'd be doing my breaks, and you can hear them joking around in the background and stuff, and I turn the mics off, and we all be laughing, and then as soon as I go to them for the interview, I'm like, all right, so E-Radio WMZR, one step behind, local music's, or the best mix of local music on the internet, or whatever the dumb call, the dumb thing I made up for it was. It was like, I'm in the band here with Mustang Alley. Hey, Mustang Alley, why don't you guys go ahead and say hi to the listeners real quick? And it would just be,
yeah, hey,
hello. Like they soon shut up and became afraid of the microphones.
Yeah.
So I started realizing that it's really hard to make people feel comfortable enough and open up, and it takes time.
Yeah.
Even my friends who knew me for years in bands I managed at the time, would come on and they would still freeze up a little bit. Yeah. Because it's just a different environment.
The idea of public speaking and stuff like that, and
even though nobody's clearly listening to it because it's 2002 and the internet and streaming internet was literally impossible at that time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like we had $1 million studio at a college. $1 million college studio just to stream to 100 people on the internet. Meanwhile, I built this studio out of spare parts, which you've heard me say every single episode.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I didn't want to just be pulling words out of people's mouths again.
Right.
And I didn't really have a format, but as soon as the format of talking to other artists about their jobs struck me in the brain, I was like, that's a perfect idea for a podcast.
Yeah.
And the night I came up with it, or the next night after I came up with it, because it was at the Comedy Studio Christmas party. Mm-hmm. The Comedy Studio here in Boston, it's a comedy club. They do a Christmas party every year. They do a Christmas show with a party afterwards every year. And then Laugh Boston, now that's a new club. They do a Christmas party too. So it was like the Christmas party at the Comedy Studio. I came up with the idea of talking to a local comedian about his job because I was interested in it. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Editing. And then the next couple nights at Laugh's party, I started asking around to the other comedians, hey, what do you think of this as a podcast idea? I talked to comedians and artists about their day jobs. And they're like, yeah, it's a great idea. You need, and Don Zello, local comedian Don Zello, who was on the show, his idea, his contribution was, you know what? You need a really good name for it, though. Like, you need a name that'll hook people. I was like, all right, well, I'm thinking like by day or by night. He's like, no. So what do you really do? Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a brilliant name. Fast forward to a year later,
when you got off your ass and started doing it.
Yeah, it took me a while to get my. And this is the thing: I work in a radio studio. I just can't use the studios where I work. So anyway, I wanted to buy Zoom, and then this spare room opened. I was like, let's just build it here. Yeah. So flash forward to a year later, I'm doing a comedy show with Don. I was like, hey Don, what are you doing on Sunday night or Monday night, whatever night it was that I asked him to come in here? Like, I don't know, driving around for Uber and. That's about it. I was like, hey, you want to come do a podcast for my you want to come to my place to do a podcast about your day job and this and that? He goes, oh, yeah. I was like, so you have a podcast now? I was like, yeah, I just launched it. It's called So What Do You Really Do? It's actually the name you gave me. He's like, oh, that is a really cool name. I was like, it should be. You came up with it. He's like, what?
No wonder you like it.
And so now when I posted the most recent episode, I even commented, I was like, that's a really good name. I'm like, all right, we get it down. Yeah, you love the name because you came up with, and he completely forgot.
Yeah.
And we had a detailed conversation.
Even better.
about a podcast and the name. Like, he
Yeah.
literally, I think his contribution was, what do you really do? And I think I added the so, because that's that exact thing where when you meet somebody, like how many, like it's the old joke of, oh, so you're an actor in LA. It's like, yeah, I'm an actor in LA. It's like, so what do you really do? Wait tables?
Yeah, right. Yeah, makes sense. And this podcast is available on iTunes and where else?
It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and now on Google Play if you're an Android user and you like the Google Play Store thing.
Stitcher, do you have it on Stitcher? Wait, no. I'm thinking, this is probably just for us. What service do you use? What do you upload it to?
To go in the backgrounds of the podcast stuff, I upload my audio to domain.com, who is the host of my website, deadairdennis.com, because I have unlimited bandwidth and unlimited hosting with them.
Nice.
As long as it doesn't get too big.
Yeah.
And then they'll move me to my own special private server.
Yeah.
And I still have unlimited bandwidth and storage. I'm just going to pay more for that server or whatever it is. I don't know how they explain it to me. So I upload the audio to domain.com. Then I link that audio to WordPress, because WordPress is what's creating my RSS feed.
Yeah.
And then I submit the RSS directly to iTunes, directly to Stitcher, and directly to Google Play.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm it's actually costing me absolute zero.
That's cool. Well, you're already paying for your website.
Yeah. I'm already paying for the website. I'm just paying nothing extra to do it.
Exactly.
That's why I'm not on SoundCloud.
Right. And that's, because the SoundCloud is where some people pay to upload it to. So,
yeah,
right?
and that's the same thing. You said I
use Libsyn, yeah.
Which
So
I've heard great things about Libsyn,
yeah.
but it's a matter of I don't want to pay anything more for it.
Right. But I mean, my website, searchforcohost.com, I paid like $7 for it, and I pay that whatever for 2 years, and I just use like a friggin' Tumblr or something like that. And it's like, I don't pay anything for the website. But
you bought the domain. I bought the domain and hosting. My domain and hosting a year, $70 a month. Or a month. Ooh, no. 70 is $70 a year.
Okay.
Which is super cheap. When I talk to other people, they're like, oh, why don't you just give me GoDaddy? It's $10 a month. That's super cheap. I'm like, yeah, except at the end of the year, that's $120 compared to 70. So you've almost doubled. It's actually literally for 40%.
Yeah.
Give or take a few numbers here or there, 40% more. So, because I guess you don't look at that stuff because you do sketch comedy. So you don't look at like the Facebook groups of comedians, helping comedians or connected comedians or any of those things.
No, I'm not in any of those, no.
So that's every couple of months, weeks, or whatever it is, the same questions roll up in those groups.
Yeah.
And one of them is, what's the best place I need to start a website. Who's the best place to get a website through, you guys?
Yeah.
And always GoDaddy comes up, Danica Patrick's GoDaddy comes up. And it's like, they're a crap company. And they charge
Plus,
too much.
they're not even on podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, if you listen to podcasts, you know that they don't advertise on podcasts. By the way, this mattress in Dead Air Dennis's studio here, this is going to be up on eBay. So you can go to Sleepy's. We'll meet you in a parking lot of a Sleepy's, and you can purchase this mattress. Use promo code Search for a Co-Host when buying it, and we'll bring it to that Sleepy's parking lot. You have to sell mattresses if I know anything about podcasts.
Well, no, I can't sell these mattresses. I still need them for sound
Well,
balance.
you'll sell them, and then you'll get some soundproofing with the
I'll
money.
sell them for the money for acoustic foam. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
For sound dampeners.
Yeah. So in my non-soundproof studio, I live next to the train tracks, and we're always interrupted by a train. And that's why I have the segment, Train Talk, top of the hour. Do you have any good train stories?
Good train stories. Oh, man. Other than the fact that I just got on the red line, good train stories. I feel like I should have some good, does a trolley count as a train?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know. That just makes my brain not have to think about the trolleys. In Baltimore, where I'm from, they have a light rail service, which is essentially like the Green Line, only it's better. It's newer. It's just a trolley train that's electric train that goes through the city, north and south. I feel like that because I used to take it a lot when I lived in Baltimore. That I should have some good heroin stories, like just good old junkies doing the heroin tai chi, where they're standing 1 minute and then they're like Michael Jackson, smooth operator, leaning on the floor, and they never fall down.
It's
I don't have any specific because it happens every day. Like,
exactly, nothing sticks out. Yeah.
But I love that heroin tai chi, the junkie,
Yeah.
the junkie. They will get themselves in the most uncomfortable positions, and not like. How is a junkie more flexible than me? And I just started doing yoga. How is that possible?
Practice. Years and years of practice with
Like
that
you know
darn
they
needle.
heroin's bad for your heart and everything, but dude, if you knew how
You could
flexible it
stretch.
makes you,
Yeah, right? Those are the guys that can suck their own dicks.
right? Yeah, which is probably the only dick they're not sucking to get heroin.
That's
money.
true. Yeah, that one's just for fun.
That's the only one that's not going to pay them.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, another segment on the show that we do. It's called Matt Sovey Likes This, and that's because my friend Matt Sovey, he's a positive person, and he frequently calls me and tells me about stuff he likes. So let's just listen to this thing that Matt Sovey likes. I can
Here, we can plug
do
that in.
Oh my god.
Plug that in. Oh, dude, this is a
This
pro
guy.
studio.
This is
that's
like
turned up. I,
legit.
make sure I hope that's turned up.
I was like, I'm just gonna edit this in later. Boom.
And headphones. And my headphones. I know. I literally built a legit studio.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Check. You can hear something in your headphones, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, and then if you plug that in, you may have to take the case off. I don't know. We'll see if it's all the
Yeah,
way
we're
in.
plugged in. Alright, you're a piece of shit.
Is it an iPhone? Yeah, because if the plug doesn't go all the way in, it's... All right, there you go. I did just order that a new version of that cable, so... Because that cable is basically a cable with a couple of adapters on it just to make sure it'll work.
I really like bird watching lately. I always made fun of it. I thought it was so silly. My mom used to do it pretty much always that I can remember. Grandfather's obsessed with it, has books, and can name them from the tree, from the sky. He has an eagle eye for it. But sometimes I just sit out on the back porch, my parents' house, where they have a lot of birds, and just sit there for an hour. It's really relaxing. Guess that means I'm getting older, but that's what I like lately. Okay, signing up.
Bird watching.
Okay, bird watching.
Bird watching. I think I hate bird watching.
Let's see,
I don't like birds.
You know what? I can't disagree. I disagree with that. I don't hate birds. I don't hate birds.
I mean, there's some cool birds, but
I've never been woken by the sounds of birds and mad by it because
you've never had a woodpecker on the side of your friggin' house.
That's because I've never been awoken to the sounds of birds. Because I keep my bedroom like a dungeon.
Okay.
It's a
soundproof dungeon.
It's soundproof. It's dark. It's there's no light coming in.
Yeah.
I keep the doors closed. That way nobody can hear anybody screaming inside. No, I don't like my when I'm home. I know some people, especially like spring coming up, because the spring's coming. It's 56 degrees outside. It's May the 18th. Are you kidding me? Anyway,
It was a beautiful day.
Like freaking Preakness is this weekend, and it's 50 freaking degrees here. Anyway, I don't know what accent that was supposed to be, because it was definitely not a Baltimore accent, because I was bringing up Preakness. It's just that was my generic Italian, pissed off Italian accent. Because there's a lot of Italian people in Baltimore, because it's a port city. But no, it's people. So springtime, warm weather. They open the windows. Let the breeze in. Let the sunshine in. No, close it down. Shut it. I don't want to be
no fresh air.
I don't want the outside world invading my space here. Like when I come home, it's my time to get away from the world.
Yeah.
I don't want to know the world exists outside of where I live. No more evident was that when I was living by myself when I first moved here. I had my a one bedroom by myself. The only reason the windows were open was before I had an air conditioner, and it was 90 degrees here.
Yeah.
In July, the only time it's humid here. The first summer I was here was bad, but since then it's been a joke. But yeah, I like to keep it closed down.
Yeah.
Also, I sleep so little.
You do sleep little.
I sleep. My body does not want to sleep more than 5 hours at a time.
It doesn't want to.
Yeah. So even
You've
if I
tricked your body into it. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, I am a fan of the So What Do You Really Do podcast. So Dennis works in radio, but he doesn't just work in radio. He works It has to do with traffic. So, do you guys know when traffic is? Yes. He goes to bed late and he wakes up early. And you don't nap.
Sometimes I'll come home in between shifts and nap for like at best I can get an hour nap. At best, it's very rare. Yeah. But also I've been going to the gym now 3 days a week.
Sorry, I meant to compliment you earlier.
Oh, don't worry about that. I don't want to. Hey,
it is getting hot in here.
Yeah, it's getting hot. Is it getting hot in here? Is it a sauna? I need a sauna to lose more weight, to sweat it out. I don't know why I turned into a 50s Flappers girl voice.
That got weird.
This is what it is. All right, I feel like I got to compete with you on characters right now.
Why?
Because that's how my dumb brain works. Because you do sketch comedy and characters, now I feel like I have to start doing... I'm
meeting
your
energy
now.
No, I don't like Don and accent. I'm just like, I'm Steve in this sketch now. You know, we've changed so that more and more of our sketches don't even have character names anymore. We don't try. It's like, okay, you're gonna be Phil, you're gonna be Sophia. It's like, no, you're Steve, you're Eric, you're Sarah. It's like I don't know. Sure, maybe sometimes we'll like try and throw on an accent, but like we don't like. I don't know. We haven't really discussed it, but we've kind of moved towards that direction.
Well, this is the thing I loved when I first saw you guys at Sketch House at Improv Boston was, first and foremost, the characters who you guys were so immediately well established and dark. Like you guys, you established hilariously dark characters, each one of you, especially like Becca. Is that her name? The short one with glasses.
Yeah. And we miss Becca. She went off to college.
Did she leave?
She went off to get her master's degree, so she hasn't been in our group for a little. Exactly. We all say exactly.
She's adorably tiny.
Exactly.
But she has this just mugging like everyone's was great. Her when you guys did the profile of her in the video sketch.
She's a hell of a writer too.
It killed me. Like I died because it was just perfect. It was perfect in my mind.
Yeah.
For her look, and when it came out, it hit me in my comedy funny bone. Yeah. So very, very hard that I died laughing. I died laughing, and I've been a ghost this whole time.
Good.
But yeah, no, you guys are good.
Appreciate it.
So you guys find yourself writing yourselves into sketches more now?
Kind of. Like that's kind of a. I don't know. We haven't really discussed it, but it seems like it's kind of going that way. That I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say because we're kind of like a Ouija board. We don't have like a lot of sketch groups. They have like a director and like someone who's in charge and like, all right, you do this, you steer it this way. We're just like a bunch of us all together and we just all write and we kind of vote on which ones go and like, you know, this person's kind of in charge of this person's kind of in charge of that. So it's like we kind of like I don't know. We're like a Ouija board of a sketch group. But you're right in that like somehow we all have the very similar sensibility in that we're kind of like dark and like. But also kind of absurd at the same time. So, I don't know. It's hard to explain it because explaining it, I can't explain it myself and I'm in it. You know what I mean?
Well, let's switch gears.
No, before we switch gears to what you're saying. Sorry.
That's me taking over your podcast again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's move from my podcast to your podcast. So first, this is where we're going to end this one. I want you to plug some of your stuff.
If you want to find out anything about me, everything can be found at deadairdentist.com. That's where my Twitter is, my Facebook. I'm pretty sure my links to Instagram is. Don't follow me on Instagram. I don't do anything on Instagram.
When you emailed me, I almost said, all right, I'll Instagram you when I'm at your house. I almost said that, honestly.
I mean, I'm on my Instagram, and I've been posting them, but I don't post regularly. Yeah. I'm on Snapchat. I don't know when the last time I posted a Snapchat was, and I think it was to, like, privately to certain people, not even... I didn't send a dick pic.
Oh, good.
I just said, like, this is what I think my last Snapchat was. The last Snapchat was I was in the back room I was in the rack room at work fixing something. I'm looking around at all the lights and buttons and dials and everything, and I just took a quick Snapchat and I sent it to like a 22-year-old girl that I was hanging out and friends with, and I sent it to my roommate, and I sent it to like one other person. And wrote on it, I feel more comfortable here than I do anywhere else. Like, I feel so comfortable in the back room, and I didn't build that back room.
You're a robot?
Yeah, I feel... I'm basically the same... the robot from, like, Superman 4, where the woman fell in and was raped by a computer system and turned into a robot. Same thing happened to me.
Oh, okay. I have no response to that. So go to deadairdentist.com.
Did I out-absurd you? Yes. Yeah, everything you find on me at DannerDennis.com. Mostly, I think Twitter is the thing I use the most.
Yep.
Facebook I do a lot as well. Oh, I got a Tumblr now. I've been on Tumblr
fancy.
for a while. Yeah, well, I've had the Tumblr. I just never used it, and then I changed the name to be used because it was originally supposed to be a Tumblr for reposting pictures of girls skydiving, Tinder profiles of a picture of them skydiving. So it was like skydiving on Tinder or something like that.
Why?
Yeah, because I started screwing around with Tinder because everyone was doing Tinder jokes a while ago, and I noticed so many pictures of girls of them skydiving. In much of the fashion, there's so many dudes hanging out with tigers in their photos.
That's a real thing.
Oh yeah, it is. For whatever it is, dude. Okay. Well, here in Boston, you have a girlfriend, so you're not on Twitter, right? Or Tinder, rather.
Married.
Oh, you're married.
Even better.
What?
Yep.
I don't know who says that's better or not.
Even better.
Congratulations.
Love you. Love you. Okay, so go to DannerDennis.com. Search for a Cohost.com is where my stuff is. I'm on Twitter at StephenRichardK, and the podcast Search for a Cohost comes out every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. It's in iTunes, and you can go to searchforacohost.com for that. My sketch group, Mister Bismuth, will be performing. We had a couple headliner shows at the beginning of July. And so what's going to happen now is I'm going to stop the Search for a Co-Host podcast, and we're going to keep talking because this is the So What Do You Really Do podcast. If I remember the theme song, I'd sing it.
The theme song is a nondescript.
That's right, the hard rock, yeah.
It's just a clip of music that written by my buddy Scott Lester, who I was supposed to podcast with yesterday.
Yeah.
But he couldn't, so I flip-flopped him with the person I was going to record this morning before I flew back home.
Yeah.
And then his dog had a seizure or something and he couldn't go.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, well, it turned out he was fine. The dog was fine, but not a seizure. He was just shaking because he had a fever or something. I don't know. Well, yeah,
not
Scott,
to laugh at a dog having a seizure.
When I made Scott, I didn't make Scott. I asked Scott if he'd writ that, and that's the other reason why the podcast took so long. It took him 8 months to write.
Because of the theme song. Yeah, good theme song is key. I don't know. I love my theme song. I'm sorry. Listeners to the So What Do You Really Do, check out my... Oh, it's a good theme song. It's catchy.
But I just all I wanted was a short clip of music, and what I really wanted was Disconnected by Face to Face, like the first 30 seconds of that song. Mm-hmm. So I said, "Here, rip off this song."
Yeah, give me a song.
And he sent me something, and I was like, "The beat's a little slow," so I just sped it up through the computer. And I was like, "All right, now it's perfect." And it's just a 20-second punk beat.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So yeah, that's where mine got from. Oh, you know what? I've been meaning to write notes, and I was not writing notes while we were talking because we got distracted.
I brought a notepad too, but then I lost my pen.
Oh.
You got one?
I have a pen.
One? I'm good. I'll just remember shit.
Well, here, if you want to...
Nope, I don't have anything to write
now
down.
You're answering the question.
Exactly. So you're... Good point. I don't need it.
All right, so let's talk about how Mr. Bismuth started, because you guys aren't really... Prior to Mr. Bismuth, were you guys affiliated with Improv Boston before?
No,
because I don't think any of you guys took the.
A couple of them took some improv classes. I know. So Mr. Bismuth, it's me, Eric Trageser. Every time I say his last name, I say it wrong. Jonathan Case, Sarah Siegel. Now you're looking at me right now. Lauren Walliser and myself, and then Rami's coming back, and Becca unfortunately left. I think that's our group. What if I forgot something? What a piece of shit.
Oh, Lauren Wassler, you said her name.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think I met Lauren before Mr. Bismuth.
She does stand up. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I think we did a Johnny D's Presents or something together prior to that.
And then Chris Player did a little bit of stand up, and I think he's getting back into it.
Him and I have crossed paths in the past couple weeks.
Yep.
At open mics, which is like, oh, good. There you're here.
He's been trying to ramp it up lately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So some of them have taken like some improv classes, and I took like a couple improv classes. But so we all took like sketch writing 101. Rami and Sarah were in the other one at IB, yeah. And so all of us were in it together, but Sarah and Rami were in the other one. And then they went on to take 201 together. I went off to go get married, so I ended up not taking the 201 because I would have missed so many classes. And then at the end they said, let's keep meeting Monday nights, which is when the classes were. And then so we were just we started off as just like a writing group. Because we just all liked writing, and like before we even thought about performing, we were just like probably for months and months, just because we liked writing sketch comedy, we liked reading it to each other, and we liked the feedback. And then after doing it for a couple months, we're like, all right, let's do this on stage. And So slowly we started getting into Sketch House and performing here and there. And then, other little shows here and there are starting to do. But the big fun thing, Jonathan Case, he's the wizard of videotape. Videotape? What year is this?
Not wrong. Not wrong.
And as you know, as the bartender in Bleak Moments.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so fun to just like work with him, and because he's professional at that sort of thing. So like legit, like his job is basically video production. I don't know his exact title, but he would be a fun person to actually talk about what he really does.
I would love to bring him on, and I'll write Jonathan's name down.
Yeah, for sure.
On my dry erase board.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh, I see that.
My list of things of people I just got.
I have a very similar dry erase board, but I'm very bad at keeping up with it. So I'm happy to see that.
Case, right?
Yep.
C-A-S-E.
That's it. Exactly. But he's he did Bleak Moments. He did Inexorable. Some of our short films that mostly he wrote. Some people co-wrote. Like Eric co-wrote the last one, Inexorable, with him. And then he's in the process of writing our next one, and I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. So, I mean, not our next one. It's basically him. He's the brains behind it, and, the producer sinks all the money in, puts all the love into it. But we're just happy to play his puppets, you know what I mean? And it's just fun to be able to go out there and, he tells us what to do, and we do it. So, I mean, that's like a silly way. I feel like I explained that the wrong way. But that's basically what it is, We go out there and have some fun making movies, I don't know.
So, all right. So you guys all met in IB sketch writing classes, and then formed your own group and started doing it. What made you particularly, forget about the rest of them, what made you take the class? Because it's a weird thing to go to Improv Boston or Improv Asylum, take a class, and then start doing it.
Yes.
Like,
the jump from starting to do it to doing it, you're right, is weird.
Because, I mean, with stand-up is so much more prominent.
Because there's open mics, and you could just find an open mic, and you sign up, and you keep going. Yeah.
And plus, there's there's a million podcasts about comedians talking about starting comedy.
Right.
But there's none talking about doing sketch comedy. There's a few talking about improv, but even then, the concept of improv comedy is more prevalent than sketch comedy, even though everyone grew up watching Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Nobody thinks about that sketch comedy is a thing itself outside of Kids in the Hall, Monty Python, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. And it's harder to find. There's less sketch comedy out there, although, I feel like everyone, in theory, it could. Everyone
as a kid is like, who thinks they're funny, someday goes, I want to grow up and be on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
But they never think about, I got to take a sketch comedy class. They just think about doing comedy itself.
Yeah. Right.
So how did you find...
So when I first got into it, all right, so let's go way back. No, how far back do you want to go? All right, so in high school, let's start in high school. I started doing a radio show in 8th grade, and it was an hour long. We had a big radio TV station in my high school, so for...
What high school was this?
Maynard, Massachusetts. It's like right by Concord, Acton.
Okay.
And
because that's a rare thing to have. I went to a theater high school.
Yeah.
I went to a magnet school for the arts, and we had a theater program. I wasn't in it. I went because my grandmother lived across the street, and we used that address. But I went to the school. I didn't take any of the programs, but I did do the stuff after school. Yeah. But they had a whole video TV setup that they had bought when I started there.
Yeah.
And they never implemented it until after I graduated.
Cool.
So to know, we're about the same age. I'm 35. You're what, 30?
I just turned 31.
31. Okay, so yeah, we're the same age.
Yeah.
Roughly, give or take.
This program had been going on for years.
So that's crazy.
There was sort of like a thing, some sort of thing with like Cablevision, and the guy who worked running the program also worked at Cablevision. So it's like he worked for the school, but also worked for like the cable company. So it was also like our local TV.
Cable
so
access channel?
Exactly. So there was like the radio station, which, there was one show before school, and then it was like from 2 p.m. to like 9 p.m., and it was like, any like 2 to 3 kids would sign up for an hour, and you'd get that hour. And this started, I feel like, in the maybe even in the 80s, and then there was also the TV show, and there was a couple hours, and like sometimes like one of my first gigs in there, I started off doing the radio show, but then one of my first gigs early on is I would go down to the town hall, and I would have to videotape the selectmen meetings, which 2 to 3 hours worth of local politics, and it's like, that's stupid and boring.
As a high school kid?
As a high school kid, I would go down and I would
send you out of class to go record it?
No, this was like at night. It was like 7 o'clock at night, and I would go down
after school
in the library after school, and it was some of the older kids would drive and drop you off, and maybe you'd get a couple bucks to go to like the convenience store or something like that as like a thank you for doing this terrible job or something like that. But I mean, it was just all fun. It was all volunteer because
you're an AV nerd in high school
exactly
to talk about to use stereotypes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And there's nothing wrong with being that. I was too.
Oh no, yeah.
But I was also a theater AV nerd.
That's cool. I did a little bit of the theater later on, a little bit of the acting, but that's where some of like the stage fright comes in. Like, I don't know. And I'm still 31, still trying to get over the stage fright. And I don't know, I've always loved the music. I love rock and roll, and now I'm a podcast addict, and I love the radio. So, I don't know. All right, where are we going? What direction are we taking this? All right, so later on in high school, a little bit of my stage experience, we did a thing called the Beacon Santa Telethon, which was a 40-hour telethon put on by the school in order to raise money for people in need.
Like a Jerry Lewis,
exactly.
Children Dying with Cancer Foundation.
Right,
telethon.
yeah, but this was like to help buy kids presents and stuff like that in the area type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a radio thing, and so I started off as one of the tech guys, like helping like film some of the TV and stuff like that, and then eventually my senior year I was one of the hosts, which was like really cool. And I don't know where I'm going with this. That's the difference between you talking to someone with a who does stand up. They're way better at steering where the endings are, and I'm like, I just fucking love talking.
You don't know a lot of the stand-ups that I listen to.
You're right.
No, we're all amateurs, but no. So you're into performing was doing the AV stuff at your high school,
and I liked it, and it was cool, but I was still like, I don't know. But then I also, all right, here's another thing, band nerd too. I played the trumpet. All right.
Okay.
So
do you still play the trumpet?
No, I don't, and I kind of wish I did.
Did
played
you
it for
ever
one of
have
our
a ska
sketches.
band? Were you ever in a ska band?
I tried out for one once, but it didn't work out.
Okay, so you didn't waste your 90s then.
No. I mean, I didn't really like ska, but they were like, "Here, try it."
Well, if you're a trumpet player, what else are you gonna do? Like
exactly.
Especially if you're growing up in the '90s and you play trumpet, there's nothing else you can do with that other than be in a ska band.
Yeah,
and then there's no classically trained trumpetist. I don't think.
Not really. No.
Like you could get a job on a ranch playing reveille not reveille, but playing the morning.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, it's taps at night.
Camp Anawana.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Yeah. So, all right. So you started doing that. When you left high school, were you still continuing to do AV stuff?
No.
Because we were right at the time, and you were a little more in it than me at the age, because we're only 4 years apart.
Yeah.
We were right at the cusp of digital, YouTube, stuff like that.
Right.
So a few people behind me were much more inundated in doing their own things.
Yeah.
My generation, a little bit. Like, I was keen to it, but I wasn't in it. I was watching it. I was watching the YouTube community and vlogging grow.
Yeah.
Going, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's shit content, but it's brilliant marketing and whatnot, this or that. Did you fall into that stuff?
Something happened when I graduated high school, and it was like, it's time to grow up or something. Like, this is stupid kid shit or something. Like, if you try and follow your dreams, you're going to end up poor or something. So, like, I went to college, and I was like, I became I was a communications major, communications sociology double major at UMass. And it was just kind of like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. There was a part of me that was like, it would be so cool to be creative and to produce something and to follow my dreams, but I need to, like, be able to eat. So that's why I'm still trying to develop it being okay to be creative and to be funny. I feel like I've always been a funny person and I'm super creative, but I'm still not okay with it, you know? Like, I'm coming out of the closet that it's okay for me to be funny. And that's another of the reasons why we're going to talk about, too, maybe later, or whatever. I'm afraid, this is called So What Do You Really Do? I don't want to tell you what I really do. I don't even use my last name.
No, I was going to bring that up.
Stephen Richard K.
I've had to find your Facebook to tag you in the other things that I do.
And it's so weird about Facebook because, like, I was like, because I'm like kind of friends with some work people on there, and I'm like, what if a friend of a friend sees something and then they find out? I'm like slightly petrified that like someone in my job like would find out that I do this, and like I don't know. If you know my real last name, you could just search my name and you'll find out exactly what I do like that because it's a Polish last name. Go ahead, pause the podcast and look it up.
I clearly have a nickname that I use, Dead Air Dennis. Clearly I wasn't born Dead Air, whereas some people have mispronounced it Diadier? Is that French?
Sure.
But I go by Dead Air Dennis.
Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people because I'm white. Like, if it was a black comedian, it's completely okay for
Why?
Like, literally, people said that the nickname thing is an old black comedy thing.
All right,
and they're the only ones who are allowed to do that. And I catch a lot of guff for it. But but you use Stephen Rich K, which sounds like a normal name.
Yeah.
No one would be suspicious to think that that's not fake at all. It's not fake.
It's just my last initial. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're hiding your identity because you don't want your coworkers to find out you do comedy?
I'm afraid of, like, you know how, like shit and piss jokes are, like, hilarious?
Yeah.
Like,
Again, that goes back to me being straight-laced a little too much, where it's like, I don't find potty humor overwhelmingly hilarious. You can write a great shit joke and I'll laugh. But just to say a joke that talks about doo-doo does not make me laugh 100% of the time. It's got to be it still has to be a good one.
Exactly.
But just go,
sure.
Shit jokes are funny.
I've
heard a lot of really bad shit jokes.
Yeah.
And most of them are pretty bad. But anyway, so you were saying.
No, but like, so it seems like to me in the real world, what's the real world, Xanis? I don't know. A lot of people I would imagine that jobs, this is the way it is, I feel like. They want someone who's like quiet. They on the weekends they go for hikes or something like that. You know, that's like some of the questions that people ask is like, are there any problems with social media? Have you noticed them like doing things on social media? That's like some of the problems that like people in interviews ask, and it's like, like if I had to answer honestly, I like to party. One of my favorite hobbies is I like to get drunk. Like, but like people don't want that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I would also imagine people don't want me to go on the internet and like talk for 20 minutes because like, what if I said something wrong? Like, what if I'm spreading some ideas that may not be necessarily like straight down the middle or something like that? It's much easier and it's much better for companies or for certain things to have people who are quiet and just go to their job and then go home and watch TV, you know? And the fact that I'm talking or the fact that I'm up on stage like performing sketch comedy, that's not a positive for a lot of people. So I'm afraid that like either my current job finds out or if I apply for another job in the future, if they Google me and they're like, oh my God, he said what? On episode this and this, he said this joke about like, you know, something terrible or something like that. And it's like, there's no advantage to me like being like coming out with it. You know what I mean? Like maybe if I was like, all right, for sure, you know, I'm gonna definitely go into comedy. It would be awesome to like have comedy as a career. I'm definitely gonna be podcasting. I'm gonna like do comedy. I'm gonna get paid through being creative. But this is like a hobby for me, and I love it. And as much as I would love to like get paid to be creative, like I feel like that would be one of my main goals. I'm not ready to take that step and like completely blackball my name, I guess, by being who I am. Because who I am is not acceptable or not accepted by the people who would pay me to be, you know, a person. You know, you go to a job, you have to like wear a tie and you have to act a certain way. You have to answer the phone in a certain way. You can't insert any personality into that, you know? I mean, sure, you can a little bit, but like they don't want someone who, you know, something happened. I don't know. I'm just talking in circles now.
No, that's fine. But so that's the point I'm bringing up. Your coworkers don't know you do this.
Right.
You're the classic definition. By day, you're one person, and by night, you're doing something else completely different. It would be great if we were on the talk of being vigilantes and superheroes, but we're guys who go to day jobs and then
I'm
at night
saving the world from boredom. I'm making people laugh.
Saving the world with dick jokes.
Exactly.
So you're the classic. A lot of people don't tell their coworkers that they do comedy. And then at some point they find out, they're like, yeah, I do it. But you're like to the depths where you're keeping everyone in the dark so much. Would you, if you told your coworkers you did comedy, would they be surprised at all based on knowing your personality? Like, are you much more quiet?
Based on my personality, no, I think they wouldn't be shocked, but I'm just afraid of some of the consequences that might.
Okay. So you're open and you joke around and you're funny at work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not like super serious, but it's like, I mean, obviously like when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious. You know,
but you're not the quiet guy in the corner who never laughs or makes a joke or anything.
No, I'm me.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure if it came out, they'd be like, oh yeah, I mean,
of course,
but like,
makes so much sense. Yeah.
Exactly. But
okay.
But still, it wouldn't be like applauded. It would be like, oh, this is a problem we have to deal with, or something like that.
Is it a government job?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, all right. I figured you can't tell me the actual job, but I figured you could give me in the ballpark of what it is, because it's a little weird. Like if you just worked in if you worked in a PR firm, that would be a little weird to be that.
Oh, okay. You said PR firm. That's one of my favorite things to think about too. All right. Have you heard of John Ronson?
John Ronson.
He's one of my favorite guys. He's all right. He was one of the podcasts. All right. Let's talk more about podcasts.
Okay.
You like the Nerdist, right? You said
huge Nerdist fan. I actually idolize Chris Hardwick's career.
And Joe Rogan, you too.
I listen every once in a while.
He's been on those podcasts too.
If Rogan has somebody on that I really like, I'll listen, but I don't listen to him regularly.
So this guy was on both of them. His name is John Ronson, and he's an author, and he's
is he the 4-hour work week guy?
No.
Okay.
That is, I'm blanking on his name. This is the same guy. He wrote So You've Been Publicly Shamed. He wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah. I know the guy. Okay.
So You've Been Publicly Shamed. He talks about
the girl who did the AIDS joke on the plane.
Exactly.
He interviewed
worked for a PR firm. And, I'm just some douchebag with whatever 300 Twitter followers. I think I'm hilarious. Some of the stuff I tweet, I'm sure if some of the wrong person looked at it, they'd be like, what is this? Get this guy out of here. But to me, I think I'm so funny.
Dude, I follow you on Twitter. You write some good, funny tweets. On that, I've gone back through some of my old tweets, and I cringe at them.
Yeah.
Not because the quality of comedy is bad, it's because there's some misogynist stuff that I know never meant to be misogynistic. It never meant to be misogyny. It never meant to be misogynology. But...
But to you reading it there black and white, it doesn't have the context from you. It reads completely different than what you intended.
Very much. Out of context. Even in context, some of them are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, as the person I am now, because I do a lot on these podcasts where I talk to women. It's like, all right, well, let's talk about the feminist side of things. And I have I have female friends who are feminists. I do not consider myself a feminist because I think there's depending on what angle you are on feminism, you'll think I'm either a feminist or a men's civil right or men's rights activist.
Right.
Because I firmly believe in equality, but at the same time, I grew up wanting to be, and I've said this 100 times on the podcast, that I wanted to grow up to be Lucille Ball as a kid. I never thought women weren't funny or equal to men in any other way. But also at the same time, bitches be crazy.
Yep.
And guys, we're terrible, awful dogs. Like, we're awful, disgusting people. So I've played both sides of that line. Why is that thing lit up? That's going to bother me. Okay. Because I have dual screens, so I can see both sides of the screen. Is it charging? Right. Okay, it's charging. Charging my cell phone. Because I got to go to do it. Oh, I don't have to do an open mic after this, but I'm going to go do an open mic after this. Because I don't want to have a voice by the 22nd of May. I don't want to have a voice by Sunday.
Okay.
Like, I've done comedy every single night and so many podcasts.
Nice.
And I got a 6-hour festival on Saturday, Somerville Porch Fest.
Nice.
I'm running a 6-hour comedy show that day. So anyway, the point I was getting at.
Yeah.
Let's go back to talking about you.
Okay.
So you're worried that your job would find out because you would get fired for a bad joke.
Something like that, yeah. I'm just afraid of some sort of negative consequences. There's no specific...
Because I have the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've been reprimanded in radio. I've been reprimanded so many times for inappropriate tweets, and by inappropriate, I mean complaining about coworkers, complaining about jobs, or in the span of one tweet, explaining how to break into the building.
Oh my god, yeah, that'll do it. All right. So in my podcast, I don't even acknowledge the fact that I have a job, and I don't mention my last name. So I don't talk about my job. So that's one way to do it, and then I don't use my last name. So I try to keep them completely separate. I go to work, I get paid, I get out. Let me do what I want. So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and I don't believe people should be reprimanded for the things they do outside of. They should not be punished at work for the things they do outside of work that aren't breaking the law.
Right.
And that'll bring up a lot of controversy with people complaining about NFL players, because I think that same thing should apply. Like, I'm not a fan of guilty on the internet, or what guilty beyond whatever it is. Okay, So you went to college.
So I went to college, and somehow I went to college, and I
gave up on
there was a
all
radio
that art
station,
stuff.
and I was like, all right, like, if I go to the radio station, it's like, I'm going to have to, like, go put, like, start from scratch, and, you know, I'm going to have to, like, sweep floors for, like, a year or two before I even, like, get to touch a microphone, I'm sure. Or, like, you know, the TV station, I don't even think there wasn't even that big of, like, TV there. Like, their communication department, like, there wasn't too much in the media production side. And so I was just, like, I didn't really get into it. And, I don't know. So I went to college and drank beer, and that was fun, and, you know, got a job there, and then graduated, and then got a job, and then somehow eventually later I'm like, all right, I love podcasts. I started listening to podcasts right around the time Adam Carolla started his podcast. The Nerdist came out, like all that stuff. I listen to so many. Doug Benson I started listening to, and so maybe something like 6 years ago or so, I decided to start a podcast.
You've been doing your podcast for 6 years?
I've been doing mine for 4 years. So I started 6 years ago. I did the Ghost Bag podcast. It was my buddy Brett Burdick, who's in Accidental Awkwardness. He was a friend of mine in college. I started it with him. We did a couple episodes here and there. It was stupid. It was dumb. And I said, you're fired. I said, I'm going to start from scratch. I want it to be mine. I came up with the great idea, the wonderful idea that is the search for a co-host podcast.
It is a brilliant idea.
Never-ending search for the co-host.
It is a brilliant
idea. And I said,
idea.
look, you're fired, but you can come on every other episode or every couple episodes and try out for your job again. And this is another way for me to talk to people and to get more people in, but it's also I could talk to him. And so eventually he kind of stopped like being on the podcast. But so 4 years ago, 4 years I've been doing the search for a co-host podcast.
Oh my God, dude. So much of me regrets not starting everything that I'm doing years ago.
I'm going to have that same regret about stand-up comedy because one day I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy. I'm going to wish I started it earlier.
But you can start tonight. I'll get you on the list. You can do it. You can be the last person on the open mic tonight.
Sounds good.
It's in Newton. But okay. So
all right. So around the time I started my podcast,
you started doing your podcast.
I said, all right, I need guests. Who am I going to talk to? My stupid friends? No.
Yeah.
And from listening to other podcasts, I'm like, all right, let's do this. I think Brett also started taking classes at Improv Boston. I'm like, all right. So I signed up for improv classes. Part of the reason to get better at talking on microphone, to get better at making scenes, and also because I wanted to talk to people.
You're already doing radio. Did you feel comfortable doing the podcast initially?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you should have. Okay.
But I still wanted to get better. I still wanted to like hone my skills, and that's why I took the improv classes. But it was also so I could meet people who are interested in comedy, because as a podcaster, what are you going to do? You can't go to podcast open mics and find people who want to talk to you, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to find people who are willing to talk to you, who like comedy, and like, so that's kind of how I started to get into the Improv Boston community, taking... Probably around 4 years ago, I took some improv classes, and then I took like a little bit of a break. I like took a short story writing class, and then that's when I took the sketch writing class, and that's how I ended up finding Mister Bismuth, was through the sketch writing class. So,
did you have any plans of or any ideas when you were younger of doing sketch comedy before?
No.
So you just took the class, met the people, and then was like, this is fun, let's keep doing this.
I've always liked writing. I've always thought that it would be fun to be a writer, but I don't put in the hours writing, you know? Like, when I've written something, I look at it and I'm like, that's pretty cool and I like it. And, you know, it's usually like short stories or something like that. I've never really written sketches, and but I don't put the time, effort into it. So I guess with the sketch comedy, it's like, you could write it and then rewrite it and then you could practice it a couple times, and then you get some feedback. So it's like, it's awesome, you know? I don't know, it's really cool. And it's fun, it's cool, but I never really thought that, like, when I grow up, I can be paid to be
do comedy.
Fun.
Yeah, be funny.
And even now, I don't think it's a thing. And I know it's a thing because I listen to so many podcasts, and there's so many people that do it, and you just start doing it, and you get better, and then eventually people like you, and it's all about convincing people to like you. Hey, everybody, listen to my voice, like me. Come see me do a thing, pay a couple bucks to see you do this thing, tell your friends about it, tell your friends about my podcast, listen to my podcast. Eventually more people listen to my podcast. And all of a sudden it's like a snowball, and I'm just one person with one voice and one opinion, and then all of a sudden I have to convince all these random people, hey, I'm worth your time. I'm worth a couple bucks of yours. And to me, that's really cool, but that's so scary. Because I'm the type of person that's like, you know, even with my group of friends, I'm the type of person that walks in the front and is sort of a leader, but then I turn around and there's no one behind me. How can I do that with a bunch of strangers? You know what I mean? Like, that's so scary to me to even think that I could take some sort of leap like that. So, how are you bold enough to think that you can go on stage and eventually you're going to get good enough to convince people to listen to you.
Well, this is the thing. All right, so this is my thing on pay. I hate money. I don't want to be paid. I love doing it.
Yeah.
However, I need to be paid.
Yeah.
So I can live.
Exactly.
And I'm tired of working. I'm tired of working in radio, and I'm ready to quit.
Yeah.
Just so I can have a job that pays me enough money to live, so I can continue to do this podcast and comedy and sketch comedy. I just started. I started a online a YouTube sketch group.
Nice.
And we're going to be. We should have already had things out, and that's my fault. I've fallen off the because I've taken the role of executive producer and director of majority of the stuff.
Yeah.
And I fell off the wagon of trying to get us organized and stuff like that. But it wasn't my idea. The whole thing didn't start with me. Somebody else started it, and I said, all right, I have experience because I have a degree in television production.
Yeah.
I've written stuff. I'm also 8 years older than you, kid, so I have a lot more life experience.
Yeah.
I'll take the reins, and I've dropped the reins. But
Yep.
I need to be paid for these things. I want to work to the point where somebody starts paying me. I don't have to fight to be paid for it.
Yeah.
I get good enough to where somebody demands to pay me. But yeah, you're right. It is bold to go out there and say that I'm interesting enough for your people's time and attention. But also, I've been that way since a kid. Like I feel more uncomfortable not performing in front of people than I do.
Yeah. You just have this personality. You seem like the type of person that's like,
since I was a kid.
You'll walk up to someone and shake someone's hand, and that just seems like who you are.
Yeah.
So you
I'm
have
the
this
most
built-in
outgoing
confidence.
misanthrope you'll ever meet. But it's also Dennis, you're attention starved. No, I'm not attention starved. I just enjoy watching people be joyful. I love being a part of the creation of stuff. I worked behind the scenes in theater, TV, and radio.
Yeah.
And in the music industry as a band manager. I enjoy being behind the scenes as well. Because I just enjoy being a part of the creation process. I enjoy creating entertainment.
Yeah.
I just stepped in front of everything a little too late.
Mm-hmm.
I should have stepped out. I should have fought harder to be in front of the cameras and in front of the microphones earlier on. But so this is, I think, going to be an interesting thing. When you went into college, you immediately thought, okay, entertainment and funny, all that stuff that I did before, that's children's play, it's time to get into the real world.
I kind of wanted it to, like I was a communications major, and I was kind of hoping that maybe there would be something, like maybe some off chance, but I knew it was like, it wasn't like going to pan out, or it was like, I just didn't have high hopes for it. But
that's why I didn't start stand-up. Similar thing, because I knew right around the time that I was becoming old enough to start going to open mics, one, it was impossible to find open mics because internet in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But I knew because of Last Comic Standing.
Yeah.
The first season of Last Comic Standing, and I already knew, because I've been a huge stand-up fan, that to become a successful comedian, it takes at least 10 years of doing it.
Right.
And I was at 20 years old, or whatever age it was, where I went, I want to do stand-up, but I don't want to do it for 10 years, because I don't know if it's what radio is my mode of entertainment.
Yeah.
I want to do stand-up on the side for funsies.
Yeah.
But to be good at it takes 10 years, so I'm just not going to do it.
I almost have that thought now, and I think it would be fun to try. And I know if it's something that I start, then you're addicted to it. You go to at least 3 a week. I know you say sometimes you go every single day, and you can go every single day. And
outside of this 2 weeks that I was I was in Baltimore and going around, I've fallen down to 1 a week.
Yeah.
But now the spring's come around, I'm gonna amp up to three to five. Dude, when I moved to Boston, I was doing 8 a week.
Yeah.
5 to 8 a week.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but also I had no friends and didn't know anybody in town.
Yeah.
So even though I was waking up at 3:34 in the morning, I still had to go out to be social because I'm so used to going out and being social.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm 31, I'm married, and I occasionally work crazy hours. And Netflix is fucking awesome. I don't know if you know this. Like, you can go home and, like, the beer's cheaper at home if you buy it in 6-packs. And, like, there's some good shows on Netflix. Bloodline Season 2's coming out. Peaky fucking Blinders is coming out again. There's some good quality program. I could just go home and hang out with my wife, my stupid cat. I don't have to go out to a bar and try to get approval from a bunch of strangers I don't know. But I want to. But I'm not gonna, you know? Like, and that's...
Is your wife supportive of this?
She's so supportive. She's so super supportive.
Stupid supportive where it's like, yes, go do your dreams.
Yes. I mean, there is some degree where it's like, you know, obviously she loves me and wants me around, and like when I'm not home, she misses me.
But she'd rather you be happy.
But she wants me to be happy. She's so super supportive. And that's one of the, ever since I've been married, it's like, I'm more comfortable in my own skin because, like, hey, she believes in me. Maybe I should believe in myself. Like, I don't know.
I've had friends who have said the same things. Like, even just with serious relationships, not even marriage, where it's like,
Yeah.
the fact either they do one of the two things. One, they become more confident in their performance because they have somebody backing them.
Yeah.
Or two, they stop performing. They're like, look, I got somebody who loves me. I don't need
Right.
that approval anymore. I have her approval, and that's all that matters to me now.
Right. Exactly.
Or I've had women do the same thing. Oh, look, Sterling Smith just sent me a message. I have no idea why she wants me to email her. Okay. Anyway, that's the bad part about Facebook messaging, and two, having a computer screen on both ends.
Because then you
I
can
get
definitely
distracted.
see it. Yes.
Well, I did a podcast in Baltimore, the one like 5-hour long thing. I'm sitting all
Yeah.
the way across the room, and the dude who was recording it had a pretty good, legit setup.
Yeah.
But it was also at a studio space. His back's to the computer, everything's recording, and I could see from across the room that it stopped. I'm using crappy Audacity.
Yeah.
But he was using, I think it might have been GarageBand, because I think he does bands, and that's why he had all this equipment and stuff. Anyway, point being, I saw it cut off, so he turned around to check volumes or something, and I was like, oh, then he'll look at the screen. He turned around, knobs are right here under the screen. Just so
And he
knobs,
didn't even know.
didn't even know, turned back around. I'm like, I don't want to stop in the middle of things like, dude, turn around and check your thing, because I'm not even sure that it's off. I saw a window pop up, and it looks like it's not moving.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
turn around, look behind you. And then somebody else knows, like, dude, Dennis wants you to turn around and look at the computer. He's like, oh, no. And so whatever part of their podcast got lost.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a bad week for me in podcasts.
Bummer.
Because that happened.
Let's hope this one's fun.
I was an hour late for this one.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry about it, man.
The podcast I did yesterday, that was the two got canceled of my
Yeah.
own podcast interview.
Yeah.
Two of my guests canceled. But the other was the one podcast I ended up getting to actually do in Baltimore. 2 hours in, filled the SD card. So I'm not even sure how much of her conversation, of that conversation I got lost.
Yeah.
But we quickly turned on the phone, quit it out. It was like, all right, recap. This is what we said. This is what we were talking about. This, and this. Talked a few more minutes, 10 minutes on the iPhone. So I had to marry a Zoom audio and an iPhone audio, which is not a problem. But there's going to be a complete drop in quality audio
for sure.
So it's been a bad week for podcasting me. But
Don't jinx me.
you record at home. What do you record with at home?
I also use Audacity. I started off, I got like a...
Because 4 years
Alesis
ago, I'm sure
mixer.
you've updated your equipment since
A
4
little
years.
bit, yeah. I
Because
mean-
it's been everything's changing monthly.
But when I restarted it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to sink some money into it. So I got some like pretty decent like $50 microphones. I don't even remember the brand, but I'm like, all right, these are like good like voice microphones. And then
USB or XLR?
XLR.
Okay.
And I had a mixer, and then I had it going on my computer. But now recently I bought a Zoom, and then which is good. So
The 4 or the 6?
H4n, yeah.
Okay, the 4N's the standard.
Yeah.
The 6 is beautiful. I've just had the 6 for a week.
Yeah.
And it has different capsules that change. You can change
Interesting.
the microphone, so it's got 4 XLR inputs into it, built in automatically.
Wow.
Then you can take so that yours has that XY pattern microphone.
Yeah.
You can take that off, put on a bidirectional microphone, or you can take that off and put on 2 more XLR inputs.
No
XLR
way.
quarter-inch inputs. So you can have 6. You can plug 6 microphones into it.
That's
It's
too
beautiful and
much.
wonderful. It's overkill. It's absolute overkill.
too
But I love it so much. Oh,
The thing I don't like about it is
I'm such a
there's
geek
just
for
the one
for equipment.
volume control. So it's like if one person's super soft and the other person, that's the thing I don't like about it. And
On
that's
the
why I
6,
usually
they
go
all
for
have
mixer.
their own
That's really
individual
cool. All right,
dials.
that's
so there's
solid.
6. There's
That's-
4 knobs standard. 6 if you put in it. It's beautiful. So wonderful. Brings a tear to my eye. That's how much I love it. I'm a geek for this stuff. But
Yeah.
that's why I have the spare parts, because I'm a geek for equipment.
Right.
I wish I had the money for an equipment addiction. I don't have the money. I just look through books and dream one day. Like, I want to buy a Zoom just as a backup recorder in here.
Yeah.
I don't even want to use it to take on the field. I just want to buy a Zoom, plug it into my thing, and use it as a backup recorder in case the computer shuts down.
Yeah, you could.
I totally could. I know how to build. You saw my on-air light in the on the door.
I like that.
That's a push
clever.
light.
Yeah.
I've already figured out how I can build it with a switch that starts the recording and turns on that light. I know how to build it. I just have to go buy the things and build it. I think I know how to build it.
And that's what you get because you did production in college.
And engineering, too.
Yeah.
I was an engineer.
Engineer as well?
I was an engineer for a number of years in radio. Just low-level stuff. Very low-level stuff.
Yeah.
But, all right, so did the fact that you didn't want to do comedy, that you thought was kid stuff, does that come from your upbringing? Like, was your parents serious people, or were you? Because I grew up poor, and so I know growing up poor, there was a lot of pressure for me to get a job right out of high school to pay for my college, which is what I did. I started working at Camden Yards selling Italian ice and iced tea and lemonade at 15 years old.
Yeah,
because I needed a job to pay for things. Because I grew up in a poor household. Yeah, is it a similar thing where your parents had a strong work ethic that they pushed on you, and that's why you felt? I'm
gonna say kind of yes. 'Cause my parents didn't go to college, and I got a job right at 15, and then 16, and then got a car, and then just started working from I was 15 on. I mean, I didn't like contribute to like the household bills or anything like that, but we weren't rich or anything like that. But it was, I think it might have been a little bit of like the upbringing, like, hey, you gotta get a job, like my dad. I found out recently he had like small dreams of wanting to do comedy, and he never really tried it. And so recently we brought him in and I made him participate in a sketch.
Aww.
And I think he really liked it. And I don't know, so that was cool and fun for me. But I don't know. I think the way you described it, I feel like I don't know how to agree with you without it sounding mean.
Oh, sound mean.
Because no.
Sound mean to who?
To my parents. No,
your parents.
Because they're so supporting and loving.
Oh, we're not going to have the WTF moment where we're going to ask you about your mom and you're going to cry? Damn it.
No, because they're so supportive and they want the best for me.
That's good that your parents are supportive.
But maybe they do have a little bit of that, hey, life is serious stuff. You know what I mean? So maybe it was some sort of like, thing from them.
When were your parents born?
They're
are they a little bit older?
They were younger. They were in their early 20s when they had me. Like,
okay.
Okay,
because
I was the oldest. So
my father's old. My father was born 1944.
Okay.
I know he's dead now, but my father was born 1944, which is a little bit older than majority of my friends, because my father was 37 when he had me, and I was his third kid.
Yeah.
Second from my mom, who was born in 57. So my mom was about the appropriate age for me. My dad was a little bit older. But he is of a different generation where it's like, dude, in 8th grade, he quit school to get a job. So he's from a completely different generation of people. Like, I don't even know if that's, I guess that's the baby boomer generation.
I'm bad at.
Yeah,
I hate defining things like that.
Yeah.
I like rock and roll. I'm not sure if I like heavy metal or what's the, I don't know the difference.
I was that nerd. I was that music
This
snob.
is heavy metal. This isn't
this is punk. This is
hard.
pop punk.
Yeah, no.
I was that guy.
I hate that shit.
I hate being that guy. I hate being that guy. But I am that guy. I hate being it, but I am. But
I remember buying the Hard and the Heavy CD from Best Buy, and I was like, I don't understand the difference. What's the hard and what's the heavy? I don't get the difference. This CD is hard rock. This is heavy metal. I like this song and this song, and I like this song. And this one sucks and this one sucks. Like, which is it?
So you have a supportive wife for comedy. Your parents are supportive of your comedy.
You're about to tell me I'm a goddamn failure, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be the one that is the naysayer. I was going to ask: is there any naysayers other than your own brain inside, or do you?
Yeah, it's probably just me. I'm probably my own worst enemy. I fucking love me though.
Because you have enough positive influence around you. Do you have that voice inside that tears you up on the inside?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think you can be an entertainer without it.
Like, you're going to go back and you're going to listen to this podcast and you'll be like, this is garbage. You're probably not even going to release this episode because of how terrible it is. Like, who wants to listen to me talk? But somehow I still have that, because who am I? I started a podcast. So I have that fucked up thing inside me where I'm like, I'm just a piece of shit. Who cares? Like, I get a couple, like, no one's going to listen to this episode. But then I'm like, you're going to get so many more followers because I'm on this podcast. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand who I am. That's my whole entire life, is two things that don't seem to be, that they don't make sense. How can they fit together? And that's who I am, because I am the straight-laced person who goes to the job and I do this and I go do this job and then I get out and I try and do comedy. How can these both polar opposite things be true? But they are. And you put these two sides of the magnet together. If they're this, hold on. How do magnets work? If the same side goes together, they repel, but both sides...
The opposites attract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's science talk on So What Do You Really Do?
Or, we're going to turn this into a Paula Abdul music talk podcast.
Sure,
Because she
yes.
did a song, Opposites Attract.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm an animated cat or something. I think there was a cat in that music video.
So my entire life is trying to figure out how can I be both of these things that don't seem to make sense.
See, that's another thing that held me up from doing the podcast was I didn't want to do another thing
podcast. You're just another stand-up comedian.
Also, I didn't want to fail at something else.
You didn't want to fail at something else.
Like,
but
if-
what's the
if the
failure? I fucking love this shit. I don't really listen. I probably get, like, some of my episodes, I get, like, maybe sometimes it's like 20.
Oh, God,
Some
I can't look at the numbers.
Some of the higher ones are like over 100. But it's like,
Oh, that's
you're right.
great.
But I don't even, look at them because I love doing my podcast. And I'm doing this for fun. And I like to talk to people. I like to listen to people. I love to listen to podcasts. I'm a podcast addict. And it's just fun for me to be able to contribute to the conversation a little bit. And it's kind of harder for me to, as much as I love talking, I love listening to. I listen to so many podcasts that, I don't know, I'm not always the best listener. What am I saying?
Well, that's the thing. That's the I'm so afraid to look at the numbers
Yeah.
because I don't want to find out that nobody's listening to something. Because I've had enough failures. I've been a part of enough things that have failed or didn't do as expected.
Yeah.
And I want to do this because I enjoy it. But
Yeah.
there's that part of my brain that won't let me enjoy it if it's not a success.
Yeah.
Even though I'm happy and having fun, if it's going nowhere, that's the part of my brain that tells me then why continue keep doing it.
Yeah.
Put your focus into something that is going to be successful because entertainment is your life.
Yeah.
But so let's go back to the coworkers things because this is fascinating to me. I know nobody in Boston who is not a comedian or a coworker or a bartender who works at the bar that I do comedy at.
Yeah.
For you, doing comedy, not telling your coworkers, how do you, how can you do what you do and not feel like you need to use your coworkers to promote at them? I mean, I'm sure you grew up here, so you have friends as well, but don't you also
have a lot of friends.
Do you not want to also tell your coworkers, hey, I have this podcast, please listen to it as well?
No, not really. No, not with coworkers.
Do you keep that line of private and work separated?
I try to, yeah.
You do.
One of the reasons why I didn't even want to start to do comedy, why I was afraid to start doing sketch comedy, is when I joined up, or when I started doing the improv stuff, all I saw were people hey, come see my show, and it was so annoying, and it was I don't want to be the person begging people all the time to come see my show. I barely wanted to invite people to my show. You know what I mean? Doing sketch comedy, I was almost embarrassed to tell people I was doing sketch comedy. If my family found out or something like that. My family, they eventually found out, and they're they think it's cool, and they think it's funny, and I'm sure they know it's silly and stupid and a waste of goddamn time, but I was embarrassed about it. I was still embarrassed about it. And so I almost I tried to keep it off Facebook, and I didn't want the wrong people to find out, family, but eventually they found out and it's fine. But and now I'm kind of in the space where I'm look this is a thing that I'm doing. I'm having fun doing this. We're going to do a couple sketch comedy shows. We're having fun doing it. I think you would have fun watching. So if you want to come, this is when the show is. And it's not crazy bothering people. I feel I don't want to bother people. I don't want to. I want to be hey, I'm having fun. Come have fun. I don't want to be hey, everybody, look at me. Oh, some people have that huge give me goddamn attention, and I fucking hate that.
Yeah, see, I hate talking about my shows. Well, then when everyone starts comedy, there's two types of promotion people. The way people promote, they tell nobody at all, or they tell everybody.
Yeah,
and I was half and half. I would only tell people when I needed to. If I was doing a bringer show, I would only tell the amount of people that I needed to bring.
Yeah, you'd sell the 2 tickets that you'd have to do in order to get
and not tell anyone
Doherty's
else.
Comedy Vault. Yeah.
And then 2 months, a month later, when I needed 2 more bringers, I would hit up 2 different people.
Yeah.
Instead of hitting the same people up. So that was my method to it. But now everyone knows I'm doing comedy for the most part.
Yeah.
Because I talk about it enough online. Because I have to force myself to talk about it online. Because also here in Boston, I have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
But I need to generate when it comes to social media. I need to generate more content.
Yeah.
And not just being promoting. Like, I felt so bad this whole week I was in Baltimore. The only time I posted online was about doing a show.
Yeah.
Whereas I should be posting about something and then also posting about a show.
Yeah.
I don't want to be just shouting show announcements at people, but I'm also so I'm just done with social media. But there's also a part of me that if I'm in the mix of doing things, I don't think about social media. Like, there's times
You're
where,
living
like,
life.
when I started
What is
Twitter,
that?
I'm living life, and I'm not sharing it on those things. That's why I'm not big on Instagram. I don't stop to take the time to take a picture of something and say. Also, I don't want to just post that I'm doing something. I want to make it creative and funny and original, which I don't always succeed at. But this is something I'm proud of you, because you're embracing the Periscope a little bit, because you Periscope.
Not too much. No.
You do more than I do, and I want to do more in Periscope. But the only time I'm doing something that is Periscope worthy, I don't think about it at the time.
Yeah. No, I don't really do Periscope enough. There was a little time when I would do things, but like, no, I don't really do that. I mean, do you? I'm sure the times when you think of something funny, you probably write it down for your notebook and you're like, this is the possibility of a good bit later.
Yeah.
I'm sure that same energy that I use, I throw it away on Twitter and I flush it down the toilet. I don't save it. I write it up in 140 characters and then I get rid of it. I feel like that's my biggest creative output. Yeah.
I've minded my Twitter for like, I had a really good joke the other day. What was that joke that I can turn into something here at this open mic?
Yeah.
Especially since I haven't been doing it, but I need to be going back to writing a quick 30-second joke to open my sets with.
Yeah.
Like a quick one-liner. I need to get back into the habit of writing those, because I wrote those to start my jokes.
Yeah.
To start my bits at open mic, so I can get a laugh off the bat and boom.
Yeah.
But that's talking too much of comedy. That's going too deep into comedy. And I should not be.
But I like to
expert
listen
at
to that. And I don't know
but
why.
I don't need to be anyone's expert at comedy.
It's just fun listening to people talk about comedy. And that's one of the reasons why I like so many podcasts I just like, and I don't even dive in, you know? Like, I don't even necessarily go to open mics. But I like to, I listen to your show because it's fun for me to hear your experience of the Boston comedy scene. And I don't know why.
Does it feel too inside baseball to you? Because you don't know as many of the people as I do.
Right. Sometimes when you drop names, I'm like, I don't know this person. But other times I'm like,
what's the percentage of names you don't think you know?
I don't know. It's hard to say because some people have heard.
It's a totally on the spot question.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know. Maybe like half. But like others, like I've heard, like, all right, I've heard of that person. Oh, I've seen a show with that person. I've seen this person do stand up. They're funny. And sometimes it's like, I forget, like maybe there was a couple guests. I'm like, this guy's pretty funny. And I started following him on Twitter and I'm like, just from hearing him talk on your show, I'm like, I'm looking forward to eventually running across this guy. Sorry, I'm not going to go out of my way to look at you. But I followed you on Twitter. I find you're fun. I think you're funny from listening to you talk.
Say his name.
No, I don't even remember his name. And that's even the worst.
I can name the 7 guests we've had.
Exactly.
If it's a he, that eliminates 2 of the female guests.
It's a he. Who?
Mike O'Brien. 34 jobs in 34 years.
I think I followed him, yeah. I think he was one of the guys that, yeah.
I love Mike O'Brien. Yeah. I know there's inside Boston comedy, there's the joke that Mike O'Brien's an asshole and everyone hates him, but I love Mike O'Brien to pieces. And I don't care that he hears me say that. Because he's a delight to be around.
Shit.
That's essentially the Boston comedy opinion. Facetious opinion of Mike O'Brien. I think it's a joke. I think we're all joking about how much we hate Mike O'Brien.
Probably not. I don't even know him and I hate him.
All right, so are you just doing the sketch comedy as a hobby, or do you see an end goal for it?
No. I don't work hard enough at it, you know?
Okay.
I think if I put more time into writing, then there would be something out of it. I think if I don't put enough time into memorizing my lines and acting as I should, like if I were taking this seriously, then I would know my lines a little bit more. I'm just having a really good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that, bro.
And sure, maybe there's some part of me that, like, what if someone came across me and discovered me? Would I, like, drop everything to do it? Yeah.
Of course.
But, like, I don't necessarily think, like, I don't want to put in...
You don't want to quit your job.
I don't want to go be an intern at, like, some piece of shit thing in order to, like, eventually maybe someday get paid to, like, be a writer or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you wouldn't quit your job to make the attempt at being paid for comedy.
Someone just reminded me how shocking this is the other day. I've been out of college for 9 years and I still owe $15,000 in student loans. And I just went to a state university. I feel like I can't be myself because if I get fired, not only do I have, the wife to take care of, I also have Sally Mae to take care of. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
I am not.
Well, I'm not. I don't
yet.
have any student loan debt. I paid my. The only thing I haven't paid for my college is the last semester. That's why I don't actually. That's why you don't see my certificates hanging up on the walls here because they weren't given to me because I didn't pay for the last semester.
Fair enough.
So technically, I'm a college graduate, but literally
With
not
goods.
a college graduate yet. Still,
Right.
Yeah, if I mail them that $450, maybe I'll get my certificates.
$450.
I think that's what was my last class was.
I think-
because I spent 6 years, and the last 2 years I was taking a class a semester because I was waiting for them. It was one of those like, this is only offered in the fall, this is only offered in the spring, and then it was canceled because not enough people from the fall who were supposed to graduate to the spring class took the spring class and stuff like that. Oh, my college was.
Here's your next thing. You're going to do a Kickstarter to raise the money in order to get your college degree.
That might be the only thing that I would do for Kickstarter.
Because that would be so funny.
Because I'm not
One
starting a
of the
Kickstarter
things-
to pay off my medical bills that I'm going through right now.
Oh, yeah. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, too, on my podcast, which I didn't bring up. How
We can talk about it now.
are
We
you?
can-
Are you okay?
Honestly, I'm alive now. The serious answer is it's between now and the end of the year, who knows? The first year after my surgery is going to be very touch and go.
You got to take it easy. You got to relax. You come home, you're running, you're like, oh, I'm sorry I'm late. You run up the stairs and you're like all full of energy. Like, I just feel like you just got to
I'm a very energetic guy.
You are, but you got to stop.
Yeah. Well, here's
And
what
I saw you earlier, we're talking, you're like grabbing the side of your chest up over here, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
is he
I'm so
feeling
used to
pain?
doing
Like,
that. I don't know.
I'm like, what is he clutching for?
No, I
things-
have constant chest pains,
Yeah.
low level chest pain, angina stuff that's
Yeah.
here or there. But if the pain that I'm having, I've been through this enough now that I know the difference between a serious pain that brings me to the hospital and a pain that's just a atypical pain.
Yeah.
So.
So you're eating right, you're
I'm
exercising.
eating right for the most. I'm 98% at eating right.
Did you quit smoking?
Oh yeah, I haven't had a cigarette in 6 weeks.
That's good. Okay. Good.
And I spent a whole week with my mother, and I didn't have a cigarette. But yeah,
All right. This is all right. I don't know if I should ask. One of the
Do
things.
what you want, bro. This is an open chat.
You do coke?
Huh?
You do coke?
No,
No?
I've never done coke. And I've always been afraid to because I know I have a heart condition. Like,
Okay, there you go.
Because
when I hear of a young guy getting like a heart attack, that's one of the first things I think of.
hereditary. I have hereditary high cholesterol. It's because of my dad. My body is actively working to kill me. That's the big problem with everything. Is that I'm and that's why it's going to be sketchy between now and the end of the year because no matter what I do, my body's going to want to build more cholesterol than what it is.
Right.
My brother, who's was a vegetarian, was on cholesterol lowering medication.
Even while being a cheese.
I mean, he ate dairy, so he's a lacto. He was
Not a vegan. He's a
he
vegetarian.
wasn't vegan. He was
Yeah.
just a regular vegetarian. He ate
Yeah.
dairy and stuff like that. So that
Get
dairy
outta
causes
here.
cholesterol. So yeah, it's a dangerous place to be. Like my buddy,
Yeah.
who's 400 pounds. We were just talking. He's 400 pounds. His cholesterol is 70. They want you. Anyone need good cholesterol is under 100. Like a good cholesterol level is under 100. First
Yeah.
off, I was 270.
Yeah.
Last check was 120, I think. I was down to 150 points. So they still want me under 100. I don't know what it is now. I got an appointment in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, he's 400 pounds and his cholesterol was a 70. Like, what the fuck? If there's anybody, and I love him to death, but
Eats
if
a lot
there's
of
anybody who
celery.
should have been having a almost heart attack, it should have been him, not me.
Life's not fair.
Oh, it's totally not fair. There's
Life
so
is
many
not
people who
fair.
I hate are terrible, awful human beings, and I have to work with them every day and go, why do they not have a heart condition?
Yeah. I know. I don't know.
So yeah, I'm gonna be fine, but there is that lingering part in the back of my head that that it's very good possibility that I won't make it to the end of the year. Now, granted, I can live for the next 20 years because I have a strong, healthy heart.
Yeah.
It's just blocked by
Yeah.
cholesterol and plaque and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My blood pressure is amazing for someone who has high cholesterol. My
Yeah.
blood pressure is fantastic.
It just gets clogged in the area where it shouldn't get clogged.
Yeah, the heart's getting clogged up, and it's a strong heart, and it beats and it pushes. But I mean, 20 years from now, the heart will be weakened because I'll be 20 years older, but also the
Yeah.
heart will be out of shape from beating so much and going through everything that I've put it through. But yeah,
So are you
it's
like...
still weird to talk
how
about,
are you
even though
mentally?
I just did. Honestly, mentally,
All right, listen.
not good, dude.
My grandmother died recently.
I'm sorry.
And that sucks, and I'm sad. And it affected me a little bit, but I'm like, it's like,
her
oh yeah,
time, yeah.
oh yeah, it was her time. She was old, she smoked, but I'm still like, what am I doing this for? Why am I like bothering to do this sketch comedy thing? Because I'm just gonna die. Like I got to like the immediate dark place. My mother-in-law died a couple years ago, and it's just like, but
Your efforts are
those are
futile.
other people. What's that?
You feel like sometimes your efforts are futile?
Yeah, it doesn't matter because we're all gonna die. How?
See, that's what I'm scared about. And I'll be honest with this, and please put this on your thing if you want. I'm afraid of dying and not leaving a mark on this world.
I am too.
So
I make jokes about that too. I'm like, I almost said the other day, is there any way I could put my resume on my tombstone? Like, there's like one of the reasons why I want to do comedy is like I want so many people to be sad when I die. Like, I want to go out and meet people. I want to like be on stage, and I want someone to be like, that motherfucker positively affected my life. And I'm just a little bit more sad because he's dead. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do comedy, is because I want more people to love me. I want so many people around the world to be so fucking sad when I die. You know what I mean?
Like, I get you.
Do you know how fucking sad people were when Robin Williams died? Like,
my
everyone
God.
was like, they were fucking bummed. Like, could you imagine if you could bum the world out that much by not being alive anymore?
I can't fathom that. It would be.
That would
it would
be
great
awesome.
position me. But see, I just want
That's
to be
so
able
terrible.
to walk away. I don't want to have the millions of people crying at my funeral. I just want to know that something was created and bettered everybody that I was a part of.
I want to feel accomplished.
Yes.
And that's a way to do it, is this stupid podcast that
don't
we're doing,
need-
my stupid podcast, your stupid... This is,
I don't need people to know that I created that thing. I just know I need to know that I created that thing and made the world better. I want to walk down the street and hear people talk about how much they love that show, that show that I helped create.
Yeah.
They're like, that's what I want. Not the, I love the show because Dennis is on it thing, which there's nothing wrong with that.
We just want to make people's shitty lives a little bit better.
Yeah, I have to be a part of that.
And that's why our hearts keep on beating, right?
Hopefully. My sister dropped this is God's plan for you crap on me yesterday. I was like,
Yeah.
I almost came across her front yard and choked her.
Well, Dennis, that's the main reason I came here is, where do you think Jesus Christ fits in your life? I couldn't hold a straight face to that.
All right, yeah, well, for me, it's been especially the second one, because I think I mentioned that I had the second stint put in.
Yeah.
And I was really down.
Yeah.
For days, weeks. Because I struggle with depression, but...
Listen, all right, this isn't going to change anything, but when you said that, I was like, fuck. I've only met Dennis a handful of times, but he seems like a good guy. And if you weren't here anymore, I'd be a little bit sad.
Oh.
You know?
That's... Compliments make me feel weird.
Good, exactly.
They make me
so
uncomfortable.
Fucking don't be sad. Like,
I know, but it's
You
I know
have
that,
positively
but at the same
affected
time,
my
in
life.
Head, like, then I can die happy because I positively affected
then
one person.
you're gonna fucking die. Like,
All right, out the window head first. Smash. Tell Jesse you get out of my microphones.
no, I
Tell
don't know
Jesse
how
the
to,
studio belongs to him.
how do I email this podcast to me? No one's ever gonna hear this.
How do I hit stop? But no, it's I mean, the huge thing for me was that it was like I worked for 4 months getting into better position, and
Yeah.
because when the first time happened, I was down for the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because I didn't tell anyone about this.
Yeah.
It took me weeks. It took me months to tell my family.
Yeah.
And the only person who knew what was going on, my roommates kind of knew because I had to tell them that I wasn't going to be home for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the hospital down the street, and my roommate had to walk me there because I was too afraid to. I didn't want to spend the money on an ambulance
Yeah.
to go 5 blocks down the street to the hospital.
Yeah.
And 2, I was legitimately afraid I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't be able to make the 5-block walk.
Yeah.
So I made him walk with me.
Oh, can we talk about like how bad of an like Uber ride you would have been? Yeah, I don't want to spend the money on an ambulance.
You heard the Uber podcast episode. How
Yes.
much I hate Uber. I'll call an ambulance before I call Uber. But and then I told a comic from LA who was in town.
Yeah.
She was the reason. I talked to her. I told her everything that was going on before I had the surgery. The day I went to go have the surgery, because it was Christmas Day, and that it was the 26th that I went to the hospital. Got out the morning of the 27th overnight. They released me. On the 30th, I was still having pain, and that she was the only person I told about the chest pains I was having. And she's like, "Dude, you need to go to the hospital. Like, don't die."
Yeah.
And we aren't even friends. We're acquaintances. Yeah. She lives in LA. She's from Boston. She would come back and forth. And we were doing a show, and we were just having when we saw each other on the show, I knew she was on the show, and I was excited to see her. And I said, "Hey, what's up? Hey, good seeing you again." And she was like, "Hi, I'm insert name here." I was like, "We're already Facebook friends." She goes, "Oh!" And then we just talked all night long.
Yeah.
I think probably because she felt embarrassed that she forgot who I was. But when we left and we're talking some more, and I was like, "All right, look, I can't walk too fast. I have to stop every few minutes because I'm having chest pains." And I explained all that to her. And that night, when I came home, the chest pains got so worse that I couldn't make it into the apartment. I called the ambulance and went to the hospital. And then, so that was the 30th. On the 31st, they found it, and they did the surgery, and I was out. By the way, on January 1st, I left the hospital January 1st, 2 p.m. I was at 100 First Jokes at IB doing my first joke of the year at 7 p.m.
Shut up.
That's how stupid I am.
That's
to one,
you love
about doing comedy, and two,
shit, yeah.
how stupid I am about keeping a secret that I still had to go. I couldn't even cancel my event because I didn't want to tell anybody why I would be canceling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I quickly picked myself out of the dumps after the first surgery, but then when the second surgery came down, I was for weeks down because it was, I'm fighting a losing battle. What's the point in doing anything?
Yeah.
And your mind brings you those bleak bring you to those
bleak moments.
To name the Mister Bismuth movie that we were both in.
Yeah.
Short film. That scared me for a second because the mouse, the pointer went into the corner of the screen and just showed the desk. I was like, no!
That was briefly scary, yeah.
So, I mean, have you ever... I mean, this is there's also part of me that realized that I've been doing this to myself for 16 years.
Yeah.
And the joke I'm trying to write, and I have to try and learn how to make it funny, the joke I'm trying to write is, for 16 years, I was trying to kill myself with cheeseburgers and cigarettes because I was too much of a pussy to write a note.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a dark thing, but
you.
it's almost, it's so serious, but it's so absurdly, so, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I'm writing about this.
This is the non-stand-up
Yeah, let's
comic.
workshop this.
This is, what if it was a knock-knock joke? What if you started off with knock-knock and then...
Knock, knock. Who's there?
And this has been advice from a non-stand-up comic on your comedy career.
I love it. I'm going to go do it tonight. But all right. I mean, yeah, it's my near-death moment, but there's so many people who have had more legitimate near-death moments.
Yeah.
Like, this is more... It's more my wake-up call that what I've been doing to myself health-wise and how much I've been screwing myself up.
Yeah.
And I've been writing some good material about all of it. I was... that's... You know, like I've been doing 10 to 12 minutes of material the whole week.
Yeah.
About, it starts off talking about how much weight I lost, talking about doing a study on depression and how I'm too depressed for a study on depression.
Get out of here.
I almost got kicked out of a depression study for being too depressed, for being too suicidal. And then
we can't say
I had to quit that study because of the incidents with my heart.
Yeah.
So I was already writing everything up to it. And it was like, well... I was writing depression stuff while it was happening. I was like, well, I'm going to have to see where this stuff goes. Because I'm in the
cherry
middle
on top.
And the cherry on top was I had to quit a cigarette smoking study because of it. So, yeah, I'm cigarette free. I'm eating better, mostly vegetarian.
Yeah.
And working out. And I love working out, especially because I'm going to be joining a rock climbing gym, and I love rock climbing. I'm going back to rock climbing, hopefully in June.
Yeah.
I might be able to... I'm not going to have any time this weekend to do it, but... No, you're right. I stress myself out a lot by doing things, but that's how I live.
Yeah.
That's I can't not live that way.
Yeah.
Like, are you an easygoing, laid back guy? Because you love your Netflix.
I try to be. I see, and then I sit down and I watch Netflix, and I beat myself up because I'm like, you could be editing this podcast right now. You could be doing this right now. You could be doing that. Like, I don't know. I tried to get back into playing video games. And I was like, playing like Tony Hawk something, and I'm like, you're a piece of shit the whole time. Like, I couldn't do it. I was like, you're wasting your time. You could be out doing something else right now. Like, I don't know. Where's your head at? When when's your open mic? How much longer do you want to talk? Because
I pushed it back till 10 o'clock. I have a pre-signed up spot, so I don't have to be in Newton until 10 o'clock.
All right, cool. Then we can
I
keep
just
talking.
like keeping an eye on the show. Yeah, let's keep talking. I mean, I got to take the T to get there.
Because there's I get a car, so I'm generous. So
I'm not going to refuse a ride, but you don't have to do that.
So we can go down a couple different roads. Yes. Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. We can talk about that. So you hate Lyft and Uber. I was a Lyft driver for like 8 rides. So that was cool. I don't know. I tried it. I was
okay,
like,
there's a job we could talk about.
We could talk about every
Why did you
job
start doing
except
Lyft?
for, because I was like, there's extra money to be made. Like,
Okay.
I have a car. Like, sometimes I'll get out of something like, downtown Boston at like midnight. And if I give like 2 or 3 rides, there's another tank of gas. And so like, I tried it a couple times and like, whatever, it was fine. But I just kind of like stopped doing it because I was like, I could just work a normal job, which I'm doing. Okay.
All right, well, this
podcast is about jobs. If we can go all the way back to the beginning if you want.
Yeah.
I'm so frantic.
No, do you want to know about my job? Because I have thought, because I don't know, someday I'm sure there will be a listener out there who doesn't know me personally and wants to know about my job history, especially when it comes to the
No, this is your podcast now. My podcast is over. So
Okay.
everyone listening
But
already
I think
knows
I'm
your
going to
job.
do an episode where I'm going to have somebody interview me about my own job one day.
Okay. All right. We can do that. Do you want me to interview now?
If you want to do it, yeah. What do you want to know about radio?
No,
do you
fuck
want to know?
Fuck you. We're talking about me right now.
Okay.
This is my episode. We'll
Yes,
talk
it
about
is,
you some
right.
other time.
It's an open chat. It goes both ways.
Yeah, talk about radio.
All right, let's go back to the beginning. So
in the beginning, I started off, I worked in a grocery store over in Concord. That was cool.
okay.
Fine.
Concord,
Whatever.
Mass, or Concord, New Hampshire?
Concord, Mass.
Okay, because you're from that Marshfield, Concord area. You said?
Maynard.
Maynard.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maynard.
And so a couple days a week doing that. Then finally, I got a job over at CVS, which I will never forget because my interview for that job was on 9/11. So yeah, and I was like, you're in school and you're like, you see it happening and you're like, you go home and you're like, I have a job interview at 4. That's still happening, right? And I'm like watching the towers come down and I'm like, all right, I put on my tie and I go downtown and I'm like, all right.
What is that interview like?
I don't even remember. I just remember it happening, and it was just like, just say you want to do the job.
I feel like the first thing that comes out of that guy's mouth has to be,
I'm sure it was, yeah. And
so have you been watching the news today?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
did comedy after that.
Yeah.
No, Boston. No. I did comedy after the Boston Marathon.
Okay.
Bombing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
literally went and did
That's
my
rough.
first TV appearance at a local cable access show.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. It was 2011, so I would have been 20. You're 3 years older than me, so you're what, 17? When 9/11 happened? 17, 18?
I don't know. Math's bad.
2001.
So September 11th happened in 2001, approximately in September. My birthday is
Approximately in September.
something like that. I don't know. I haven't seen the bumper sticker in a while. And again, this is a terrible thing. You're not allowed to say things like that. Yeah, I don't know. Fine. I don't want to do math right now. 17. No, probably 16. No.
16, 17.
Because
Okay.
one of the reasons I did it is because I was trying to buy a car and I was borrowing a car. So around then I was probably 16 when I started over
What
there.
did you do at CVS? Like stock shelves or cashier?
Yeah,
Or?
cashier, stock shelves, and then eventually I moved over to the photo lab, which is kind of ironic because I'm colorblind. So if I ever had to correct someone's photos, it was like, all right, sorry, like maybe not me.
Did
maybe
they
someone
know
else
you were
did.
colorblind when they let you in the photo lab?
Probably, but I mean, it's just like a machine. You just take their thing,
Oh.
It's like you take their photo and you put it in the thing. It's not like the friggin'
So in 2001, there
Robin
wasn't...
Williams movie. It's
you
like
weren't
you put it
back
in a
there-
robot. It's like you change the chemicals, you put this thing there, and they print it out, and then fine. It's like there wasn't like a lot of color correction or anything like that. It was just like you take the thing, you do this, and like you do that, and it was like an extra 50 cents an hour. So I was like, sure.
Did you only take the job because it was a pay up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never did anything in high school with photography?
No, this was just an extra. This was
my brother
I got to
did.
wear a white lab coat and got an extra 50 cents an hour. That was it. There was nothing photography in school. Like I don't know. I was never really too interested in that.
But there's a machine that takes care of all of it.
Yeah, you just give it to the robot.
Because my brother in high school took a couple photography classes, got pretty serious about it for a little while.
Yeah.
And he went to film school, which I guess there's a correlation there. But he learned how to develop film the old school way.
That's cool. Yeah, my
But I could've
grandfather
taken
was like
class.
super into that too. Yeah, and like,
I could have taken the class when I was in high school, but I didn't have the time because I was doing other things. But
Yeah.
and I also photography didn't interest me at the time.
Let's talk about that too. I graduated with 90 kids. That's how even much more crazy it is that I have an AV program.
Oh,
The
we
high
had like
school,
400 people. We
the
had
high
400
school
in my class
was
alone.
probably like 400 people, maybe 400 or 500 people in the high school, and that's how even more crazy it is. There were so many kids in the AV club, though. It was like a big popular thing. It was like, maybe like a third of the school was into it, type of thing. It was like maybe even more. It was like a big thing. It was like a big deal. So that's how even that.
Did your school not have sports?
No, yeah, there were sports, yeah.
Okay.
But, I don't know. That was the big thing. I don't know.
And it wasn't a special school. It was just your regular public
Just a
school.
regular high school, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I hear about people who went to school with doing things like that occasionally here or there, that they'll go to a school and we just coincidentally had this really cool program of things.
Yeah.
But it still baffles me because I even went to a school specifically designed for that stuff, and nobody from the school has done anything. The fact that I'm doing a podcast and stand-up comedy, and I work for a radio station, I'm the most successful person.
Yeah.
I had a girl who was supposed to graduate with me, but she ended up getting kicked out of school and
Yeah.
had to go to the other local high school.
Yeah.
She had mentioned recently that her husband saw somebody he went to high school with on Jeopardy, and she was like, I was enrolled in a theater program, and none of us have become professional actors. I'm like, Aaron, relax.
Yeah.
I'm on my way there. Just stop. But there was people who were such really great actors, and they devoted their lives to it.
Yeah.
My sister went to my high school specifically for acting, and then got out of high school and dropped all acting.
Yeah.
It's like, why are
They
you not
beat
performing?
the happiness out of her or something like that.
When she was, even when she was in the acting program, she did one play. She did
Yeah.
one after-school play.
Wow.
She went to 4
In
years.
the acting program, and she only did one after school play? Come on.
She wasn't forced
That's
to
weird.
do plays. She just took her acting class every day at school, and that was it.
Yeah.
She did a couple communities.
I guess I can see that being
but none
too.
at high
Like,
school.
if it's your schoolwork, then you kind of lose interest. You know what I mean? Like,
I think
if
she got into it
something that
never
you love-
expecting to do it as serious as she should have been. I don't
Yeah.
think she was ever serious about it.
She just
'Cause she was
liked it
doing
and it was-
community
yeah.
theater along a church group
yeah.
prior to that, and then she got it. I think she should have been there. But
Yeah.
it's weird that we had so many people dedicated to a thing, and none of us went anywhere with it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas you had a school that,
I'm sure there's people that are successful.
well, not even successful.
I mean,
but there
that
was
are, like,
people
have
that
gone
were
on to it,
into
like, in my high
and
school, like-
they were into it. They were into the tech stuff that wasn't their focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like telling me that so many kids were into the automotive program at a school. You know,
Yeah. Right.
that who didn't need to be beyond having to take it, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, check my notes. I don't think I have any notes or anything else. All right, so where did we went back?
So I'm working at CVS. I worked there for a couple of
that's
years.
where we're at. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you were at CVS doing that. When did you,
was a
you were
passion
just
of
working
mine.
there for high school and college?
High school, and then I did it in college a little bit too. Yeah, I would come back and work some weekends or work the summer in order to basically pay for my car and pay for my car insurance or other stuff like that.
Were you working while you were at college?
Yeah, when I went off to college, I worked in the dish room, which was terrible.
At school?
Yeah.
Okay, so you worked on campus because I never
Yeah.
did. I went to a community college, so there was
Yeah.
none of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, like, in the dining hall, this was, like, a couple months, and that was, taking people's dirty dishes and cleaning them, and it was gross and disgusting.
Because I didn't go to a real university, so this is what... Did you live on campus?
I did, yeah. Hence all my student loans, paying for my meal plan and my housing for 4 years type of thing,
What did... All right, let's talk about that, because I don't have that experience of living in a
Yeah.
dorm room.
So, yeah.
How different of an experience was that for you?
Very. It was...
I mean, it's clearly the first time you've ever lived on your own.
Exactly.
Away
And
from
I was,
home.
I'm a
'cause
shitty
a lot
kid.
of people, when they do that dorm room, that's the first time they have sex. That's the first time they have a beer. That's where they change their life because there's no parental guidance.
I started to
And then
get
there's
into,
other
like, the
people-
fun stuff like that at the end of high school.
Okay.
So my senior year, I was probably the busiest. Like, I'm the person who was in all the clubs, like, tons of clubs, like, doing so many things. Played the trumpet, in the jazz band, in some sort of, like, mock bill passing thing. Like, in the AV club, it's WAVM 91.7, the voice of Tiger Town. Sorry, I didn't say it earlier.
Tiger Town!
Yeah, because it's the Maynard Tigers. And so in that, it's like slowly climbing up the structure. So it's like, there's the main guy, but then there's also, I'm the director of videotape, and then I'm the manager of videotape, and eventually, like, climbing up, and I'm, like, the general manager of, like, something or other, and it's like, So I'm climbing up that and like, you know, responsibilities there and a job. But then my senior year is when I started to discover how alcohol was fun and how a girl was fun and how this thing was fun, which...
Smoking weed.
I'd see, yes, but I try not to say
You
that.
did a visual gag for audio. I
know.
had to point it out.
And that's another one of those things where I'm uncomfortable saying I
And now
did.
let's go to the jugglers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
well-
another thing I'm uncomfortable about in my past. Just because, I don't know, even though it's a goddamn speeding ticket now, it's the same thing. Whatever. So anyways, so I'm doing that, and it's like, it's kind of one of those things where I was like, I was having fun doing that sort of thing. So it's kind of focusing less on like my activities and realizing that there's other stuff in life because girls are a thing and alcohol is fun. And I don't know. So then when I go to college, it's kind of like, all right, I'm partying, even though I was like having fun and doing that. And then like eventually I got a job working security there, which
At
was
the
cool.
campus.
Yeah.
And I find it funny anyone who works in comedy does security. Like there's a really good comedian who I got to bring him on, Sean Bengood. He does he was a campus security officer. Like legit carried a gun.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm pretty sure he carried a gun.
Yeah.
They may not have
Maybe
issued
not.
him the gun, but he was definitely packing.
He just carried a gun.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yeah.
it was a very serious job that he was doing, and also doing comedy. So when I find out anybody who does comedy and then has to be in charge of someone else's security, I get a little nervous.
No, it's like, that's who I am. That's this other person. It's like, and I was a supervisor, and it's like I was in charge of like people and making sure people were doing the right thing, and it was also so that I could have a job at like Friday nights and Saturday nights, so I wouldn't, if I didn't have that job, I would drink every single Friday and Saturday night. So it was like me making myself responsible to like, all right, I'm going to go make some money, and I'm going to force myself to work some of these weekend nights so I'm not always funnel facing. You know what I mean?
Do you feel you have a small problem with drinking?
No.
Okay.
It's just
You were
wicked
trying
fun.
to be more responsible.
Exactly.
You weren't trying to hide a problem. You were trying to be more responsible.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you know, it's not necessarily like I was afraid that I was going to get drunk too often. It was, again, coming back to, you know how awesome like Netflix is? Whatever the Netflix was back in college days, it was probably Napster downloading movies or something like that. It's way more fun to like sit at home and watch something than to have responsibility of like, oh man, it's Friday night. I bet other people are out having fun right now. I should probably be somewhere out having fun. It's that sort of thing.
Well,
the responsibility of having to go to a party. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily mean I was going to like get too drunk all the time. Like, yeah, like you're right. The way I said that came out wrong.
What do you... So, no, this brings me to my next question, because I want to know, you do a lot of things.
Yeah.
You organize very well. Do you find yourself being a responsible person?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes I'm responsible, and then other times I feel like I'm just compared to my... I feel like when I'm around my friends,
Yeah.
I'm the least irresponsible with them.
Okay.
But when it comes to other people, I feel like my responsibility comes from being the least irresponsible one in the bunch.
Look I have my comedy friends. They look at me and they think I'm like a conservative Republican. I have my friends from college. They look at me like I'm a crazy hippie. You know what I mean? It's like, again, how can these two things be true? But they are true. It's like, I'm a lazy motherfucker at times, but then I'm also the type of person I can get stuff done, and when I put my mind to something, I can really do it. I am the type of person, I love being in the city, I want to be nonstop, and this is great. It's so cool being here, and there's restaurants and people and comedy. At the same time, I would love to own a cabin by a lake in Maine and just not see anybody for months. So, again, how can these two things be true? I don't know. I have all these desires, but here I am in the city, you know? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I'm a backpacker who loves living in an environment, because when you're deep in the woods, it's not quiet. There's so much life and noise going on. It's the countryside that's quiet that drives me nuts. I love noise. I love living in the city. I enjoy, when I was a backpacker, just sitting out by the campfire, hearing the crackling of the campfire, hearing animals and bugs and shit in the off in the backgrounds, and branches falling down, and birds and owls and shit like that.
Yeah.
I enjoy noise. That's probably why I fall asleep at rock concerts, because it's so much noise. It's like,
Get out.
all right, dude. I've slept through both Seven Dust and Pantera. I slept through both of them. I was also super tired, because I'm always super tired.
I'm going to applaud you. That's crazy.
I've nodded off
You have that in common with Matt Sovey, who fell asleep at a And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead concert. Middle East downstairs, which is very loud.
Oh, very loud and nowhere to sit down.
Nowhere.
He fell asleep standing?
No, he found a place to sit down. It was like
Okay.
near that little, the bar that you take like 2 steps up. Somehow there was like some little seat over there. He
Okay.
finally fell
All right.
asleep.
I got you. I got you. The Middle East.
Yeah.
All right. The job that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
When did...
I got it right out of college.
Right out of college.
Yeah.
So you've been there probably, 8, 10 years almost?
9, yeah. Yep.
9 years. Mm-hmm. 9 years with the same company.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. I mean, granted, I've been with with iHeartMedia for the most part 13 years.
Is iHeartRadio, are you...
Clear Channel.
No. Okay. No. I was about to thank you, but I'm not going to thank you.
Okay.
I've gotten a lot of things. I think it's mostly CBS radio.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. WAAF? Are you? No, that's Entercom. That's something else completely, right?
Correct. I think it's Entercom.
Okay, then I'm not going to thank you for anything. I've won quite a few things from radio stations. Let's talk about that.
Oh.
I won a pair of skis, boots, and like bindings. Almost $1,000.
Do you ski?
Yes.
Did you ski before you won the
I did. In middle school, I took like...
Is there
like,
anybody in New England who doesn't ski? I guess is that should I not be surprised when somebody tells me they ski up here?
Well, and because it's like a super wealthy thing. That's one of the things. It was like my father's cousin was in charge of like some recreation department for some other like rich town nearby, and somehow he like snuck me on as one of the kids. And so, like, all we had to pay for was the rentals. We got, like, the lessons free. And this is in middle school. So, if I didn't, like, learn that, then I feel like skiing is one of those, like, it's super expensive. And if I didn't, like, own my pair of skis, which I won through, was it the 98.5, the Sports Hub, or WAF, one of those, then it would, like, it's so expensive to go skiing. Because it's, like, lift tickets are, like, $50, $100, like, just for one day. I don't know. Skiing's super fun. Also,
I've gone skiing twice. I never paid for either of them because they were station events. We just took listeners.
Nice. Yeah.
For free. So
that's scary. I won a trip to Comic-Con to see District 9
San Diego?
With Peter Jackson and the director.
What?
A trip to San Diego. Two round trip tickets. Stayed in the hotel right next to the convention center. Walked around Comic-Con. And we saw District 9 before it came out with the director and with Peter Jackson there. That same trip was actually, that's when I started to learn who Doug Benson was. So I saw Doug Benson do comedy with Patton.
Oh, flabbergasted. We could send listeners to Comic-Con, but I've worked for the radio for the biggest radio company in years, and they can't pay me to go to Baltimore Comic-Con when I worked for a Baltimore station.
I had to get out of here.
Oh well, no, they didn't pay for any of it. They didn't even put my videos on the site.
Shut up.
The only reason I got it is because like, hey, can I just email these guys for press passes for Baltimore Comic-Con so I don't have to pay for it? They're like, yeah, whatever, go away.
Fine, don't bother me. All right,
that's awesome. That's an awesome prize.
Ready? Here's another one. Space Camp. I won a weekend bender at Space Camp is what they called it.
As
to
a kid?
promote. No,
this
was like 3 years ago. This was
Well,
to promote like the last season.
The bender tells me that it's an adult.
It had to do with Futurama. It was a Futurama promotion, and it was like, and people from all over the country won, and it was like 3 days or 4 days at Space Camp, and because it was called a weekend bender, I was like, this is Space Camp. So I made sure I brought 2 bottles of alcohol, and so while we were camping or sleeping in like the basement of the Space Camp in those little bunk beds, like I woke up some of the guys and we had to go get some Gatorade, and we were partying in the basement of Space Camp. So that was a good time.
Oh, nice. How old were you that?
This was a couple of years ago. This was adult. This was like 3-4 years ago. Yeah, this was adult Space Camp. Yeah.
Oh my god,
it was
that's brilliant.
Yeah. So I would like to thank the radio. This was mostly through like online stuff, like the WAAF Army or something like that, where you like earned points by like clicking things or answering trivia questions, and then I would take those and I would enter the raffles, and so these were raffles that I won. But I made sure to only enter the local raffles because the odds of winning are that much better.
Yeah.
And that's how I won these 2 trips and the pair of skis and like a bunch of other stuff like movie passes. And
oh, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and so like that sort of thing is kind of shut down. So I haven't won like contests or one.
Did you listen to radio a lot when you were a kid?
I did. Yeah, I like WAAF, WBCN, FNX.
Do you think
I
that
love rock and
influenced
roll.
you?
I went to so many live concerts when I was in late high school and in college. So many live concerts, and I go to a lot. But now, more recently, I'm loving comedy, whether it's, stand-up comedy or live podcasts.
A lot of people start off in music and they drift to the comedy side.
Yeah.
Even musicians. I know so many musicians that are turned comedians or attempting to turn to comedians, which is weird because a lot of them also tell me it's like, I can't do what you do. It's so scary to be up there and telling jokes. It's like, bro, you get on stage every night and play music in front of people, and they're like, yeah, I could do that. But
there's another thing. I would love to be like the front man of a band. Like, I surely can't sing.
All
but
comedians
I would love
want to be rock
like
stars. All rock stars want to be comedians.
Yeah. So maybe I could be both. Who knows? Yeah, to be the jackass on stage with, assless chaps and, dancing
Just
around.
chaps.
Yeah.
All chaps are assless.
I know, but it sounds
redundant.
way better.
It sounds so much better. It does sound better. It sounds redundant. It's like saying ATM
Thank
machine.
you for correcting me.
ATM machine sounds perfectly normal, but you're just like, you're saying
well, because if you don't say machine, I think
machine.
of ass to mouth. So thank you for saying machine.
So, all right.
Unless you're talking about ATM machine, the machine that's at
They asked about machine. Yes.
Well, the machine club that's over by the Fenway, which is the gay club over in Fenway.
Oh, there's a gay club over by Fenway?
Yeah, it's called Machine.
Oh.
The ATM machine.
Ours, our weird bondage alternative lifestyle club in Baltimore is called Orpheum.
Orpheum? Oh, that must be really confusing when you moved here.
Why? What's Club Orpheum here? Is there a Club Orpheum here?
The Orpheum. It's a rock venue over downtown
Oh,
Boston.
yeah. Every time I do it, I think about that because I've been dragged to. I've been given the black T-shirt. Like, dude, you have to at least put this on if you're gonna drive us to Orpheum tonight. It's like, oh, I swear to God, if somebody comes near me with a whip, I'm going to beat somebody in the face if they try to whip me. And it's like, nobody will hurt you, Dennis. Unless you want to be. It's like, shut up. You're lucky I'm doing this. Because I'm the one who drives. Because I was responsible. Like, I feel like I was more responsible in my early 20s than I am in my mid 30s now.
Mm.
Like, I don't know if that, like, well, you're about the same age. Part of why I feel responsible because I'm hanging around so many 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
For majority of your comedy, do you feel that way because you're a little bit older than majority of the people who do comedy, or the Mister Bismuth
Our group,
people all around the same age?
Yeah, we're about all the same age.
Okay.
There's, Chris is like a bit younger. He was like when he started, he was basically fresh out of college. And the rest of us are the same age. I think Jonathan's like just a little bit older, but barely. But we're all early 30s pretty much. So I mean, it's the same. I don't feel like I'm more responsible than people. I don't know. I feel like I've always been responsible. I don't know. Like, I was the guy who, again, this is another thing that I probably tweeted recently. I hate redemption stories because you could just choose not to fuck up. I would hate it when there would be like the person who would come to school and speak to you and be like, I used to be a heroin addict, but I just want to let you know that you can turn it around. And in my head, I'm like, I just don't do heroin and then you'll be fine. Like, I don't know. And maybe that comes from one of my fears of like, I don't want to fuck up because I'm sure in the eyes of some people, they view me having fun doing comedy as me fucking up.
Oh God, I love that we.
This is a therapy session, isn't this?
Yeah, I love that we all have that little bit of fear of our coworkers or somebody finding out we do comedy, but
yeah,
yours is legitimate, man.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
Fear.
I don't know. It's all those things. You see those stories online of like, the teacher because they found out she was a naked model or like a swimsuit model and she gets fired for it. Or you see like, who was it? Was he on like Opie and Anthony or something? Like there was a cop that was always on that show that would do stand-up comedy or something like that, and he like had to stop being a cop because they didn't want him to do stand-up. There's all kinds of stories like that,
Do you think it's because of the particular job you do, or do you think any job that you would work at would feel the same way?
I think it's any job, but I'm specifically scared because of my job. But I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Ask me. You're gonna come up to me, ladies and gentlemen. Come up to me, and if you want to know what I do, I'll tell you. It's not a secret, but I just don't like talking about it. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I fucking love talking about it. I hate talking about it.
I don't like talking about radio. One of the things that I brought up is I don't like telling people that I work in radio.
Oh my God, that must be so much fun, is what everyone says. And
one of two things. It's that, and it's like, no, it's not. And the second thing that I usually get...
You wake up that early? Oh, that must be terrible.
The second thing I always get is, I don't listen to the radio anymore. It's like, ugh, go fuck yourself, you pretentious douche.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh, I hate that. It's like, I don't listen to the radio. I'm dying of fire.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate people who act all sound about that. Because there's a thing. When they hear I work in radio, their eyes light up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? And then they go, well, then I don't listen to radio anymore. It's like, then why did you get excited? Or even though they'll open with, oh, I don't listen to radio anymore.
Yeah.
And then they ask me 1,000 questions about radio.
Yeah.
And none of them being detrimental. It's more of a, so tell me more about that. You're clearly interested in it.
Yeah.
And I do nothing. I don't know. Since I've moved and I don't do music anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do music radio. Everything has changed.
Yeah.
Like, it's now become a boring office job. Whereas before it was a little more artistry and entertainment wise, but now I'm just doing a boring office job.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm ready to quit.
Yeah.
So, but what would you? How successful in comedy would you have to be for you to quit your job? Would you take a chance?
I think
what's the level of commitment you would need from somebody else to quit your job to pursue comedy?
It would have to do with money, I feel like, because, all right.
Say your student loans are paid off. Say your student loans are paid off.
That's huge, my student loans. But then it's like, it becomes like, all right, I'm married. Are we going to have kids someday? Like, is that going to be a thing? Am I going to get a house? Are we going to have to, get a mortgage? So it's going to turn into, who am I going to be? Am I going to be the person who keeps renting and, lives my dreams, or am I going to be Joe Picket Fence with a wife and maybe a dog or something like that? You know what I mean? It comes down to every day is a fork in the road, right? I could choose to be this person, I could choose to be that person. And I feel like it must be so difficult to
You're not much of a risk taker, are you?
I am, though.
Are you? You're just not with work.
I don't know. Not with work, no. Okay. My dad, like you said, my dad, he's worked the same job longer than I've been alive. So I'm 31. He's been there maybe 32, 33 years. And it's like,
God, what do you do that anymore?
You don't?
You don't hear about that anymore.
But it's like, how can I could just keep working and then I'll be able to retire one day, But it's like, if I get a new job, it's like, oh, I got to start from scratch. What's the retirement like? Start at the bottom of the ladder, climb all the way up. And it's like, I don't know. But back to your question of what it probably would be money. You know what I mean? It would be great to be paid to be creative, to be paid to be me.
So you wouldn't quit your job for the prospect of being a struggling comedian?
I wouldn't do that, no.
No, okay.
I would, in theory, I would be able to if I knew, I wouldn't need the guarantee of success to quit my job to pursue comedy. I would need a little more commitment. I would need a little more reassurance than I would have if I quit today. Yeah.
I have a small amount of research that I can make it happen, even though I'm not getting paid now. If I push and work harder, I can start getting paid. But if I lost my job today, I would seriously consider pushing to go full-time comedian. If you got fired today, if you got laid off today from your job, would you make the jump into doing comedy full-time, or would you try to find would you go back?
There's no such thing as comedy full-time, I do a couple sketch comedy shows from time to time, and I don't know. I got to get the balls to do what you're doing and do open mic. Can we talk about how it's something that I should really try? Because as much as people always complain about hitting the road or something like that, I'm like, oh man, if I started comedy today, maybe I can get good enough in 4 or 5 years, and I could be a road dog on a weekend or something like that.
The road
I could
me. I love
go Wednesday and sleep in a shitty hotel in some random place 10 hours away, 15 hours away, and some part of me is that would be really fucking fun. I don't know. And I know that's something that a lot of people want to move past, or once you get into comedy you don't necessarily want to do the road, but that sounds cool to me.
I haven't really done the road, but I love the prospect of going to a new city, going around the city, checking out the city, and then doing comedy at night.
I mean, their Applebee's, they might have different specials on the menu than our Applebee's. You know what I mean?
Oh, see, I'm not going to Applebee's. I'm going completely local because Applebee's everywhere. But no,
their Panera Bread, they might cook their Panera apple fritters a little bit different. Come on.
All right. I think this is a good place to wrap up.
Sounds good, man.
Good talk, man. This was some good stuff because I love diving into fears a little bit.
I'm sorry. People are going to be pissed. They're like, what the fuck's his job? I'm sorry, guys. I know, I'm a piece of shit.
And there you have it. My podcast, again, with sketch performer Stephen Richard K. It was a fun time between him and I. I got off that plane, and I was rushing to get here, and I was late, and I was really freaked out, but it was a good time that him and I had. And then I think I didn't think him and I left. He gave me a ride to Terry O'Reilly's, where I went and just did a little bit open mic comedy afterwards, told a couple jokes, and then I went home and went to bed. I went back to work because my vacation has ended. At the end of this podcast, my vacation ended. Oh, well. Anyway, I appreciate that you guys listen. You heard at the beginning of the podcast that Steven is the guy who has left an iTunes review. Do me a favor, if you are listening to this for the first time, if you came here from Cohost, from the Search for a Co-Host podcast, or if you came here from Jackson Blue, you're continuing listen on, I thank you very much for doing that. Please do me a favor. Go to on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, however you're listening to this, hit subscribe. And also, if you can just please leave a review of the podcast, what that is going to do is it's going to help share this podcast because of their algorithms with other listeners, with more people. The more people get to hear it, the more people who get to hear the guest. I'm sure if you came here for the guest because you're a friend of theirs or you're a fan of theirs, well, do us all a favor and leave a good review. So, all right, I appreciate you guys listening. It's late now on Tuesday. I did an open mic, and I came here just to post this. So you're probably listening to this on Wednesday morning, unless you're that dedicated. You're listening to it this late on Tuesday, almost Wednesday. This late on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for being that diligent for listening. Actually, if you're at the end of this, it's so close to midnight by the time you finish listening to this. So it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. All right. Again, thank you so much for listening. Take care. By the way, starting next week, we are starting Music Month here on the podcast. So for the next 4+ episodes or so, maybe, it's going to be all musicians doing music. We had a little bit of a preview of Music Week through Radio Month with Scott Lester, who does my theme song, and we played a song from his band, his solo project. And then the week after that, we had David Tenklevsky, radio broadcaster, TV traffic reporter, news guy, and my friend David Tenklevsky, who's also in a band. We played one of his songs afterwards. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to have some musicians on here, and we're going to play some songs, and we're going to talk. There's not going to be many live performances. In fact, 2 of the artists that we're going to bring in, I don't even think, nope, we don't have a live performance for them. But trying to get a live performance from at least one of the bands that we're going to be having coming in here. So I'm still going to be recording them. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to get me back to my radio roots. We're going to have people play music, and we're going to talk to musicians, and I am going to love every single second of the next month of dropping this podcast. So I hope you enjoy that too. Please tune in next week coming up. Radio when Music Month starts here on the podcast. So what do you really do? Thanks again for listening. Take care.
We're getting sick of living in a bar. I wanna stay, poke some holes in the tide.